Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Naruto summons Kaguya. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. The ninja of Team 7 braced themselves as they looked upon the rabbit goddess Kaguya as she stood before the writing ball of Biju chakra. The faces of the great chakra beasts twisting in agony as the mother of all chakra bound them to her will. Pinned to the ground, Black Zetsu peered from the arm that had been severed from his mother, although her ability to perfectly create chakra limbs left her unaffected by a usually crippling injury. Soon mother will end this, it thought to itself, satisfied in the knowledge of his mother's superiority over the drained ninja. Team 7 were all looking worse for wear, even Naruto and his clones were looking slightly drained. They were all encased in Kakashi's Susanoo, protecting them from Kaguya for the time being, although it was no secret to the tired ninja that their respite was only temporary. What the hell? Naruto exclaimed as he stared up at the giant black orb before him as he stood within Kakashi's Susanoo. That's the same as the balls I've got behind me. He jerked a thumb at the small black sphere floating behind him, except it's way bigger and it keeps getting larger and larger. Kamui can't teleport something of that magnitude. Kakashi sounded tired, his body struggling to maintain the Susanoo, Obito's last gift to him. Even if we were to run away by teleporting to the space-time dimension, if that thing keeps growing larger there is no way we'd be able to return. So we've got to stop it, Sasuke remarked bluntly. In other words, Naruto pointed at Kaguya, we've got no choice but to seal the real body of that old rabbit hag. It would seem so. In spite of the seriousness of their situation, Sakura couldn't help but slightly smile at Naruto's remark. Trust that idiot to go around insulting the closest thing we'll ever see to a god. You certainly talk a big game. He heard Yin Kurama's voice. I'm assuming you have some sort of plan? I'm working on it. I mean, how hard could this be? We have Sasuke, Sakura-chan and Kakashi-sensei. Not to mention me. We are screwed, aren't we? Huddle up? Kakashi looked at his students. Here's the plan. As the former Team 7, this will be your final mission. He delivered the line sternly as Naruto and Sasuke stared down the rabbit goddess. We're going to save the world. Sasuke grunted in the standard Uchiha style. Yeah, Naruto declared, getting pumped up. Roger. Sakura saluted, hanging back with Kakashi whilst watching her two fellow teammates get ready to face the biggest threat of their lives. Kaguya merely looked at them with disdain. I am immortal. She paused for dramatic effect, feeling slightly annoyed by the complete lack of response from Team 7, but if either one of you dies you will no longer be able to seal me. So then, Kaguya narrowed her eyes. Which of you shall it be? I'll be your opponent, bitch. Naruto declared boisterously. Classy. Yin Kurama rolled its eyes. Bitch? Kaguya's eye twitched. What a crude young man. No, Sasuke stepped forward. Let's take her on together. That way there's twice as much of a threat of being sealed for her. He glanced over his shoulder at Kakashi and nodded before turning back to Naruto. Bring them along the way and send them flying. Kakashi charged Kaguya, his Susanoo raising its sword high as Naruto and Sasuke slipped from it, Naruto's clones surrounding them. Do they think I don't see them? Kaguya glanced at Kakashi, deciding to eliminate him to prevent any distractions. She suddenly charged Kakashi with a speed even his Sharingan was unable to track effectively, resulting in the rabbit goddess getting up close before he could even swing his sword. And this is where your tale ends. So sad, but you brought this suffering on yourself. At least I will make your death painless. That is the least I can do. She extended her palm and launched several ash-killing spears at the Susanoo, shattering it with minimal effort and watching dispassionately as a spear tore through Kakashi's chest. She scowled as the attack seemed to pass straight through Kakashi without injuring him. I really love this ability, Obito. Kakashi smirked as he closed in on the rabbit goddess, who seemed taken aback by his survival. And now it is time to bring back this technique. His hands flew through hand seals faster than the eye could track, casing his arm in lighting and lashing out at the goddess. Kamui Raikiri. What? Kaguya scowled as the attack struck her arm. This pain. My arm. She scowled as the jutsu interfered with her chakra limb, causing it to go unresponsive. Why? Why do they resist? Do they rejoice in suffering? Do they not want peace? As she tried to regenerate the severed limb, her Byakugan picked up on two chakra sources charging her from two directions. I only need to remove one of them. Kaguya frowned before she remembered all the clones. Which one is the real one? I can't let them seal me. Not when I am this close to finally achieving peace. Mother. Black Zetsu called from the sleeve, trying to manipulate Kaguya's severed arm into launching an ash-killing spear. There's no time. I have to escape. Kaguya leapt upwards, launching a spear at Naruto as a distraction and relying on Zetsu to deal with Sasuke. Kaguya started to form a portal to escape and rethink her strategy. She watched as Naruto got impaled by the spear and dispersed into nothing, with what was Sasuke becoming Naruto with a puff of smoke. So they were both Ashura's successor, Kaguya thought to herself, somewhat impressed by the plan. He must have transformed when they fell from the chakra construct. Still, it matters not, she smirked as she saw the opening of a smaller portal. Soon you will be punished for defying a goddess and I shall be elsewhere, stranding your friends in this dimension. Their desire for war shall see that they never witness the harmony of my new world. Her smirk vanished as she witnessed the telltale distortion of a Kamui and the attack aimed at Naruto vanished. I am really starting to hate that ability. I knew I should have eliminated him first. She noticed one of the clones turn into Sasuke. And now Indra's successor appears. They must be planning to seal me with a desperate last lunge. She glanced at the portal she had formed. Almost there. Maybe I could send them to the ice dimension? No, Indra's successor can use Amaterasu. That won't work. I just need to get anywhere other than here. She tried to soar upwards but was shocked when she sensed someone appear just behind her, that someone being Sakura. Wait, she was in the Byakugan's blind spot? How did she know? Kaguya tried to avoid her attack, but the effort of opening the portal was slowing her down, just enough for the pink-haired ninja to deliver a powerful punch and knock her towards the successors of Ashura and Indra, one of her horns breaking from the impact, but it was of little concern to the rabbit goddess. The portal is ready. She smirked and dived for it. Not so fast. Naruto summoned a clone and kicked off of it for a burst of extra speed. This ends here, Sasuke declared as he launched a giant fireball to propel him towards Kaguya. Almost there, Kaguya suddenly felt a shiver through her entire body. No, she glanced at the grinning Naruto and satisfied-looking Sasuke. You know not what you are about to do. This is the only way the world will know peace. Now, Sasuke yelled as he reached out. Shanuru. Sakura yelled as the Naruto and Sasuke placed their palms against Kaguya. Yosh. Naruto cried out as he felt the seal start to do its thing. No, this world's last chance for peace. Kaguya whispered as she felt the seal start to sap her of her strength. She looked in despair as her regenerated limb disintegrated without her powers to maintain it. The portal was so close she could practically smell the other dimension, but without her powers it was starting to crackle violently. Naruto. Sasuke. Get out of there. Kakashi roared, seeing the unstable portal swell, threatening to swallow them all. What? Sasuke scowled at Kakashi as Naruto looked at the portal. Crap. Naruto realized what was about to happen. The portal was starting to expand, but the Uchiha was too busy trying to make out what Kakashi was saying to realize the potential danger. Get out of the way, Teme. What did you? Sasuke turned to face Naruto only to find the blonde's boot in his face, kicking him away from Kaguya. What was that for, Dobi? Sasuke blinked as the portal suddenly expanded, swallowing Naruto and Kaguya, before vanishing, leaving only a faint distortion in spacetime. Dobi? Sasuke repeated uncertainly. Where did Naruto go, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura glanced at Kakashi, who was staring blankly into space. Naruto? Kakashi lowered his head. There are sacrifices in every war. Sasuke scowled at the floor. Idiot? Who does he think he is saving me? He angrily glared at the distortion. How are we going to have our final battle now? You never think anything out. He clenched his fists angrily. Sasuke-kun? Sakura was shocked by Sasuke's words. As much as it pains me to agree with him, he is right. Kakashi shook his head sadly. It is just like Naruto to put others before himself. Kakashi-sensei, stop that. Sakura whispered. Stop acting like Naruto's dead. He can't be. He's going to be the Hokage. Her shoulders shuddered as she fought back the tears. Before they could say any more, the three ninja found themselves standing in the middle of a summoning circle. What the? Sakura looked around. Welcome home, Kakashi-kun, you look tired. Minato laughed. Sensei. Kakashi's shoulders slumped. Where is Naruto? Minato looked around for his son. Kakashi looked at the floor. I am sorry, sensei, I couldn't save him. Pardon? Minato blinked. He sacrificed himself to save me. Sasuke scowled. You'd better pray that isn't so. Kurama glared at the Uchiha. I can still sense my yin half, although it is growing weaker. Is he dying? Matabi glanced at the Nine Tails. I don't think so. It's less like he is fading away and more like he is going further away. His energy isn't dropping, just getting more distant. Kurama closed his eyes. You look sad, Kurama. You must really like Naruto Gyuki teased. What? Kurama glared at his fellow Biju. I don't miss that idiot. How Tsunere Kyuubi, Minato smiled softly. To be able to win over the Kyuubi. You really are something special, son. I know you're alright. I feel it in my heart. Plus, you're too much like your mother to let something like being sent into a different dimension to stop you. I will end you, Yondaime. And that went so well for you last time? Kurama closed his eyes with a faint smile. To suppose it actually did, at least in the long run. Wait, did the ceiling work? Kaguya escaped to another dimension with Naruto. She could come back at any time. Sakura interrupted Kurama's train of thought. Kaguya's powers have been sealed away, even if she herself has not. Hagoromo walked up to Sasuke, who merely scowled in response. Sasuke-kun, who is this? Sakura asked. I believe you would know me as the Sage of Six Paths. He smiled. Do you know where Kaguya fled? No, but without her powers it would be very difficult if not impossible for her to return. The world is safe. But what about Naruto? Sakura asked angrily. Can we get him back? That would be most difficult, Hagoromo frowned. But you were able to summon all of us, weren't you? Sasuke pointed out. Yes, but I knew where you all were. The sage shook his head. I have no idea where Ashura's successor is right now. If Kaguya still had her power, I might be able to track her given the strength she had, but I am afraid Naruto must make his own way back. He'll do it, Sakura declared. Sasuke nodded curtly. That idiot has the weirdest luck. He's Kushina-chan's son, Minato smiled softly. He'll definitely make his way back home. I was hoping to see if Naruto and Sasuke could finally end the brothers' hatred. Hagoromo looked at Sasuke, the legacy of Indra and Ashura, but it appears as if that will not happen. He closed his arms and put his palms together, and with this, the infinite Tsukuyomi ends. Just like that? Sakura blinked. Indeed, Hagoromo opened his eyes. Your friends are free and my duty here is done. I pray that Naruto returns to this dimension. Maybe then the brothers' conflict can finally have a satisfying conclusion. I hope so, Sakura mumbled, her confidence faltering as she saw the survivors of the Rookie 11 make their way towards her. I really hope so. She looked away, unable to take the look of fear on Hinata's face. Where is Naruto-kun? She frowned. I can't see him. The Dobi got himself sent to another dimension. Well, can't we get him back? Hinata asked. Dimensional travel isn't that simple. Kakashi smiled weakly. But you can do it, right? Kiba stepped forward. He is gone. Accept it, Sasuke stated bluntly. Naruto? Hinata stepped backwards as if she had been struck. Sasuke-kun? Sakura stepped forward. He never gave up on you. Kiba advanced on the Uchiha angrily. But you would just give up on him that easily? I never asked him to get involved in my life. You bastard. Kiba growled and stepped forwards. Kiba-kun. Hinata tried to stop her teammate as Sakura tried to defuse the situation. You've barely been gone for 10 minutes and already everyone is at each other's throats. Sakura bit her lip. Please come back soon, Naruto. Single quote. Elsewhere, Naruto blinked stupidly as he stared at an empty-eyed Kaguya. The two of them were surrounded by completely featureless white space. There was no wind, no noise, nothing. His mind told him he was falling, but there was no air rushing past him and his clothes remained flat against his body. So, Naruto coughed awkwardly after what had seemed like an eternity to him. Are you going to attack me? You don't understand what you have done, do you? Kaguya sounded tired. Hopefully I stopped you. Naruto rubbed the back of his head awkwardly. Oh, you did that? Kaguya went to clap, before realizing that she was an arm short, staring at the loose kimono sleeve hanging from her left shoulder. You won. Congratulations. You just stopped the last chance of peace for the entire world. Tell me, how do you like your reward? Naruto fidgeted awkwardly. Did we die? If this is purgatory, that is possible. Kaguya frowned. Can't you open a portal to escape? How? Kaguya snapped. You've stripped me of my chakra. We are stuck in this space between dimensions until we reach the exit. I have never created a portal this long before. You mean the seal worked? Naruto sighed in relief. Wait, did I seal myself with you? How am I going to become Hokage if I am sealed away? I told you we are in a space between dimensions, Kaguya scowled at the panicking blonde. Your seal only affects me, and even then it was only a partial effect, Kaguya glared at him. All the chakra I had has been stripped. Everything for your coils is sealed away? Coils? Kaguya chuckled mirthlessly. I don't have chakra coils. Hagoromo was the one who created them in humanity. My power stemmed from another source. The 10 tails? That is one name for it, I suppose. Kaguya conceded. At least one that someone as limited as you could comprehend. I was a goddess until you cast me from my throne with your desire for eternal war. I have no love of war. I wanted to stop the war that was happening, and that's why I stopped you. Naruto scowled. If you truly wanted the war to end, you could have just surrendered rather than prolong the war and suffering. You had everyone trapped in a genjutsu and sucked their chakra from them. And is that so wrong? Kaguya frowned. They were happy. They had their dreams realized. There was peace, but now there will be naught but more anger, hatred and death. That is your victory. You have little faith in people, don't you? Naruto shook his head. Well, I guess I'll just have to show you the error of your ways. I have witnessed the darkness of humanity. I know too well your legacy of hate and war. Kaguya put her arm on her hip. I will not be swayed by your words. Sure, humanity is pretty dark at times, Naruto nodded, but there is light in there as well. I mean, did you see us? We all allied together, all the villages united as one to stop you. There is hope for humanity. You are a naive fool, Kaguya scoffed. Well, you are just a cynical old rabbit hag. I may no longer be a goddess, but I am a princess. You will address me as such. Okay, Princess Rabbit Hag, I will not be drawn into your childish games. Kaguya declared. Naruto opened his mouth to retort when suddenly his entire body jerked as if someone had tugged sharply on a rope wrapped around his waist. He blinked and found himself laid down on a strange black material with white lines on it. Glancing around, he saw massive buildings that looked incredibly foreign to him. Some were made from glass and seemed to be so tall they dwarfed the Hokage monument. People wearing strange outfits had stopped and were looking at them. Some of them had pulled strange devices from their pockets and were pointing them at him. Straining his senses, he failed to detect any chakra from them, although he could understand what they were saying, or at least most of it anyway. He wasn't sure what Nico Duga was or what uploading meant, but parts of their language was recognizable to him. Apparently he was stood on a road and the strange metal things racing by him making strange honking noises were cars. As he took in his strange surroundings, he saw Kaguya struggling to stand with her one arm. She glared at him as he walked towards her. Stay back, she barked at Naruto. I will not be pitied by your kind. Naruto blinked as Kaguya stood up. You who profit from war will gain no satisfaction from me. Arg. Kaguya pointed her arm at Naruto. I have lost all of my powers. She mumbled as she attempted to launch an ash-killing spear at Naruto with no success, and I am trapped in this strange dimension. She clenched her fist angrily. I have failed my dimension, and this is my hell. You can't use any of your powers? Naruto bit his lip uncertainly. This could be a trap. Kurama warned him. I don't know. Look at her. Naruto felt sorry for the former goddess. She's just had all of her plans derailed and her powers stolen. She tried to kill everyone. I think she was trying to save them in her own way. Just a really messed up and completely wrong way. I may not be the original Kurama that was sealed within you, but I have a vague recollection of his memories, enough to know that you always see the best in people and somehow get them to see it too. Although if you win her over, I think we can upgrade your friendship power from impressive to godly. Naruto walked towards the distraught princess, suddenly crouching as he noticed movement out of the corner of his eye and turned to face the new threat. It was a strange metal vehicle, kind of like the train he had seen previously whilst in the Land of Spring, except this didn't seem to run on tracks. He could make out an angry man through a glass window on front of the vehicle who was pointing at Kaguya and gesturing wildly for her to move. Princess Bunny Hag? Naruto coughed awkwardly. What? Kaguya noticed the rapidly approaching vehicle. Its wheels locked up as it struggled to stop. Oh, without my powers, I guess there is no point in trying to escape. My only victory is that the Ashura's successor will be trapped here. She closed her eyes and awaited the embrace of death. What the hell? Naruto raced towards her. Kurama, I need some more chakra. I'm running on empty. Sorry kid, I don't know why but your chakra system is busted. I'm working on fixing it but it will take a few more minutes. I don't have enough time. Naruto dived at the strangely relaxed Kaguya, pushing her out of the way of the truck and onto a raised sidewalk. What? Kaguya opened her eyes and met Naruto's. Is that concern? Why would someone who profits from war be concerned about my well-being? He noticed her curious expression and smiled, just as the truck hit him, skidding forwards a good 12 feet as other vehicles swerved and crashed into each other. In a matter of minutes, the road had become a war zone, with crashed cars and angry humans getting out of them. Amongst the angry yells and confused cries, Kaguya sat on the sidewalk confused. Why? Kaguya continued to stare at the spot where she had made eye contact with Naruto. Why did he do that? Several minutes earlier. I hate my job sometimes, Kuroko Smith groaned as she sat in her favorite cafe, nursing a lukewarm cup of coffee, her usual appreciation for the caffeinated beverage dulled by the sheer magnitude of the task before her. Several folders lay on her table, problem cases for her agency. Each one has a red stamp across the front, application to host program denied, cohabitation impossible. She crossed her legs, adjusting her tights under her skirt before returning her attention to the documents. Absent-mindedly brushing a speck of dust from her suit jacket. All of them were declared too dangerous or troublesome to be allowed a human handler. Usually this would have just resulted in their applications being rejected and that was that, but in this case, these girls were ones Kuroko had interviewed herself and knew that they were fit for introduction into human life. Unfortunately, when she had pointed this out to her superiors, they had decided if they girls truly were capable of learning to live alongside humans, the Ms. Smith would be the one to set them up with a suitable host. Usually this wouldn't have been too hard. Kuroko has access to a database of all registered hosts and with the help of a few key phrases she could have her host greeting his or her new arrivals within a day. She had mastered the art of assigning hosts to maximize the time she had for personal pursuits and initially had thought that it would be easy to find suitable hosts for these dangerous girls. Unfortunately for Kuroko, these girls required a special case. The handler would have to be far stronger than the average human in order to maximize his chances of survival. There were a few handlers that could have satisfied this criteria, but not a lot. Next they would have to be kind and calming, considering the easily agitated nature of some of the girls. This left 2 hosts. Finally, they would have to live in a remote area or at the very least be prepared to move to a remote area. This would allow the girls to gradually become accustomed to light human traffic and grow more comfortable with human interaction before throwing them in the deep end on a city visit. This was where things became difficult. None of the registered hosts were prepared to move and all of them lived in the city center. Kuroko was at her wit's end. These girls, and her spare time, were counting on her to solve the handler issue quickly and promptly. But where am I going to find such a person? Kuroko took her sunglasses off and rubbed her forehead before replacing the glasses and standing up, tucking the files under her arm and leaving the store, half-drank coffee left forgotten in her frustration. As she got out she saw a strange liminal, one that she couldn't place, stood in the middle of the road. A blonde male, probably her handler, was talking to her but it didn't look as if the one-armed liminal was paying any attention. Great, a handler who can't control his liminals, Kuroko scoffed. Some of these handlers must have paid someone to get put on the register, probably hoping for a cute catgirl or something. She sighed. Oh crap, I left my coffee behind. She noticed the approaching truck. That's not good. Get off of the road. She watched in shock as the human pushed the strange-looking woman out of the way of the vehicle, taking the hit in her place. The liminal was pushed onto the sidewalk, staring blankly at the spot where her handler had been. Damn it! Kuroko cursed and ran over as the stunned liminal stood staring into space. What the hell, you damn monster! The driver of the truck that had struck the handler kicked his door open and dived out of his truck, making a beeline for the stunned woman. What did you think you were doing? This is a liminal incident, Ms. Smith cleared her throat. Damn monsters shouldn't be allowed out if they can't follow orders. How am I going to be able to work knowing I killed a man? Say your government, right? I'd better get some compensation for this crap. I will deal with your complaints in a moment. She noticed that many other cars had crashed in their attempts to miss the truck and a whole horde of angry people were starting to congregate around the silent liminal. Not good, she pressed a concealed button on the inside of her suit, sounding the silent alarm to the Mon squad. Listen everyone, I know that you are all angry but, son of a bitch, The angry crowd went silent as the sound of metal groaning reverberated from the front of the truck and the blonde human staggered towards them. Blood leaking from a cut on his forehead but otherwise unharmed. What is that? Sir? Ms. Smith blinked. Are you okay? Huh? Naruto shook his head, clearly the fog from his brain. Oh crap, Princess Bunny Hag. Who? Ms. Smith tilted her head as Naruto ran over to Kaguya. Hey, you in there? Naruto reached out to shake Kaguya but she grabbed his outstretched arm tightly. Why? Why did you save me? Do you want me to suffer this weakness? Weakness? Naruto looked thoughtful. Okay, so you've lost your powers but it isn't all that bad. So you can't fight anymore, but didn't you say you wanted peace? Isn't this better for you? How can I achieve peace if I can't fight? Peace shouldn't be achieved by fighting. That's why your peace would never work. Naruto sat down next to Kaguya. Peace can only be achieved by two people sitting down and understanding each other. Okay, your argument makes some sense, Kaguya agreed. But some people are unwilling to listen and see things from another's point of view. Well, in that case you just have to try harder to get them to hear you. Naruto nodded sagely. Is that so? Kaguya frowned as she stared at Naruto. That is a very simplistic way of looking at things. Peace by talking would be nice, but it is a child's dream. Maybe, Naruto admitted, but I won't know unless I try. What a strange human you are, Kaguya shook her head. I don't understand what is going on here. Ms. Smith cleared her throat, but I am afraid I need you both to come with me. Why? Naruto asked. I am afraid that you will have to have your permit revoked. My what? Naruto blinked. Your handler's permit. What? Naruto repeated. You're a handler, right? I have no idea what you are talking about. I am a ninja. A ninja? That's right. She's a bunny goddess. Okay. Kuroko nodded to the paramedics who started to examine Naruto. Clearly you have taken some brain damage. It isn't a surprise. If anything, the fact that you appear so healthy is a surprise. You were just hit by, I'd say, about 20 tons at high speed. How are you alive? If he could survive that, then he could survive anything. If he isn't her handler yet tried to save her. Maybe the solution to my nightmares has just landed itself in my lap. Oh, that's easy. Naruto laughed. I just used chakra to protect myself. I would have been able to avoid all this hassle if someone had been a little faster in providing me with some. Hey, we both lost a lot of chakra fighting Kaguya. Not my fault that you wasted almost all of yours and had to wait on me to channel what little I had left you. Give me some credit that you aren't a smear on the front of that thing. Kurama grumbled. Chakra? Ms. Smith frowned. Isn't that something to do with meditation? Before Naruto could answer, there was a cry of alarm and Kaguya found herself pulled to her feet by one of the drivers. Let go of me. Do you know who it is you touch? Kaguya pulled herself free from the irate driver. Bitch, did you see what you did to my new car? He snarled at her. Who is going to reimburse me, huh? You say that as if it is my concern. Kaguya brushed her kimono. My mind is burdened by greater concerns than that of the lower classes. Like, how am I going to get back home and save my world from the wars that will one day destroy it? Lower? Who the hell do you think you are? The driver went to punch Kaguya. Sir, Ms. Smith mentally cursed. If he hits her. Hey! Naruto erupted into a golden aura. A giant golden hand grabbing the man and lifting him up. What the? Another new liminal. Ms. Smith blinked. Were you really going to hit a defenseless woman? Naruto yelled at the driver. Put me down. You monster. Like, I haven't heard that before. Naruto's fringe covered his eyes. But if you ask me, he looked up, his blue eyes piercing the very soul of the driver. Those who would attack a harmless old lady are the real monsters. Old? Ms. Smith looked at Kaguya. She doesn't look that much older than me. Wait, does that mean I look old? Before she could have an image crisis, a familiar voice sounded in her ear. I'm in position. A soft voice sounded in Ms. Smith's concealed earpiece. Minako. Smith let out a happy sigh. Wait for my signal. Please drop him, she called out to Naruto. I am afraid should you attack you will be deported to your homeland. Huh, I'd like to see her try. I can't just stand back and let someone get hurt for something that wasn't their fault. Naruto dropped the man. That being said, I am not here to cause trouble. He glanced over his shoulder at the top of the building and scowled. Minako? Smith hissed. What's wrong? He looked at me right in the eye. That's not possible. She glanced at Naruto, still clad in his golden cloak. You are on the top of an 80-floor building. Huh? Naruto frowned. Never seen a girl with one eye before. I mean, Kaguya has had 3. He glanced at the sullen goddess. Although I guess the third eye relied on chakra, so she lost that when Sasuke and I sealed her. Pardon? Ms. Smith blinked. Oh, there is a girl with one eye on top of that building. Naruto pointed. He's pointing right at me. What kind of a liminal are you? Kuroko asked. Liminal? Naruto blinked. Like how I am a human, Ms. Smith explained. Oh, I'm a human too. Naruto nodded and dispelled his cloak. What? And she's, Naruto glanced at Kaguya. I am not of this world, Kaguya remarked. Well? Kuroko let out a sigh of relief as a giant figure completely covered in a giant bomb disposal suit walked towards them. Tionisha, I'm glad you were able to make it. Wow. Naruto looked up at the 8-foot-tall behemoth. Could I persuade you to come with me? Peacefully, preferably. Okay. Naruto nodded. What about PRH? PRH? Smith blinked. Princess Rabbit Hag. Naruto smirked. It's quicker and easier to say that. She will come with us. Smith nodded to Tionisha, who carefully picked up Kaguya. Unhand me, you giant beast. Kaguya demanded. Huh? Naruto chuckled as the giant figure threw Kaguya over her shoulder and followed Kuroko. To think literally an hour ago she was the biggest threat to the elemental nations. He. Karma's a bitch. Kurama chuckled. Is something funny? Kaguya, resigned to her fate, glared at Naruto as he trailed behind the ogre. No. Naruto smiled weakly and stepped back. She might not have her chakra, but she has one hell of a glare. It was all Naruto's fault. She can't hear you. I'm not taking any chances. Kurama mumbled. Cultural Exchange HQ. Naruto looked around curiously as he sat at a large wooden table. Kaguya and himself had both been dragged into the office and left there, the giant behemoth clad in armor standing over them. Miss Smith was sat opposite him, currently reading a few files, biting her lip occasionally and jotting things down in a notebook. So, Naruto coughed awkwardly. What do you want to talk about? Miss Smith looked at him over the top of her sunglasses and sighed. Well, we are currently waiting on some forms to carry out a few tests on you. Nothing too serious. Tests? Naruto felt his heart thudding in his chest. No fair. I thought I was done with tests. Say, Naruto, aren't you still a genin? Wouldn't that mean you have the Chunin and Junin exams still to do? What? I saved the world, damn it. That's gotta be worth a promotion to at least Junin. Basically, you will provide us with a sample and we will send it down to our labs. Ms. Smith returned her attention to her files. Oh, okay. Naruto nodded and returned to looking around the room. There were various things that he didn't recognize. Hey, what's that thing? He whispered to Kaguya, nodding at a large black machine with a small gap, roughly big enough to fit your hand in. It had several buttons and a display that simply displayed, no change. Why are you asking me? Kaguya glared at the strange contraption. It is probably some sort of torture device used on those who want to overthrow the ruling dynasty, hence the words, no change. Of course I will not be tortured as I am a noble. You on the other hand? What do you mean? I'm technically a prince if you think about it. Quote, how so? Well, my dad was the leader of my village, Naruto pointed out. That would make him like a king and me a prince, right? And you're the rabbit princess, so technically we are equally noble from a certain point of view. No, she firmly denied Naruto's logic and fixed him with a soul-searing glare. I refuse to share my noble title with you. Geez, Naruto looked away, the intensity of her glare unnerving him. It is an interesting device, isn't it? Kaguya turned her glance to the strange contraption. Maybe they put your hand in that slot and press some of those buttons and the different buttons inflict a different torture. Like what? Maybe one pulls out your fingernails, another keeps cutting you with increasingly deeper cuts until your hand is shredded like confetti. Why, you think? Naruto gulped. How do you know so much about torture? Are you some sort of sadist? A noble never dirties their own hands. It is our duty to be the paragon of what everyone should aspire to be. So when did you give up on that idea and settle for being some mad genocidal bunny hag? Naruto flinched under her glare. Back when I was a child we had a torturer. Kaguya shook her head sadly. It was a sad thing that such a person was necessary to protect my people. Why did you need one? How can I protect those I am sworn to care for if I do not know what threats exist? My enemies were seldom kind enough to send me a letter containing all of their plans. Well, Naruto faltered, even so I don't believe torture is the way forward. Oh, and your village didn't have any torturers? Naruto looked away awkwardly. That's what I thought. Kaguya nodded, feeling smug, although this feeling evaporated rather quickly when Ms. Smith walked over to the strange machine. Naruto and Kaguya suddenly felt very nervous. Ladies first I suppose. Ms. Smith turned to Kaguya. Torture Ashura's inheritor if you must, but I will never speak. Kaguya declared. Yeah, Naruto nodded. Wait, what did you say? Torture? Ms. Smith chuckled. I know the coffee here is pretty grim, but I wouldn't go that far. Coffee? Kaguya and Naruto glanced at each other before watching Ms. Smith press several buttons and a small plastic cup appeared in the opening, which Ms. Smith took out and sipped before grimacing. The person who built this contraption should be arrested for crimes against caffeine, she muttered before sitting down. Are you sure I can't get you anything to drink? I used to be impartial to a glass of wine, Kaguya nodded. Left in a cellar for 250 years and made from the finest grapes. It used to cost as much as an entire village. A drink such as that would be fine for my tastes. I don't think we have anything that expensive. Ms. Smith's sweat dropped. Water's fine with me, Naruto beamed. Now that we can accommodate. Ms. Smith walked over to him and handed him the drink, which Naruto quickly drank. Let me take that back. She smiled and put the cup in a sealed bag before walking over to Tionisha and taking a long silvery strand of hair from her armor and putting it in another bag and handing it to the giant armored woman. Here, takes these to the lab and you can get out of that armor now. Thanks. Ms. Smith watched her leave and returned to the table. Now then, I have a few questions for you. I'm ready for anything, Naruto declared despite the hunted look in his eyes. Well then, first of all I need your names, age and gender. Well, this is Princess Rabbit Hag. She is ridiculously old and possibly female and I am. Naruto said as he started to introduce them. This is Ashura's inheritor. Kaguya interrupted him. Possibly male as I have yet to meet a female with such poor personal hygiene. His mental age I would estimate as around 5 years old. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, Datbeo. Naruto scowled. Age, what day is it? October 10th. Oh, then I'm 17. Naruto blinked. Male in case you were wondering. And I am Her Royal Highness, Kaguya Otsutsuki the Rabbit Goddess. As for my age and gender, it is not done to ask a noble lady for her age. Because she's so damn old. Naruto added helpfully. So that's Naruto and Kaguya, right? She looked at Naruto. As in the blonde chef? Huh? Naruto looked confused. What a stupid name, Kaguya snorted. Wait, you didn't know my name? Naruto looked at Kaguya, who merely shrugged. I am a noble. Why should I need to know your name? She looked at her fingernails on her one hand. All that is required is that you know my name and address me with the respect I am due from my noble birth. So where are you both from? Ms. Smith tried to cut off the argument. The Elemental Nations, Land of Fire for me. A village called Konoha, you've probably heard of it. Naruto remarked. I'm kind of a big shot there. Never heard of it. Ms. Smith smiled apologetically. Where is it on this map? She pushed a tablet across the table to Naruto. Wow, what is this? Naruto started playing with the screen. What a strange device. Kaguya also leaned forwards. The map moves when I swipe my finger across it. Ms. Smith couldn't help but smile as the two started to play with the tablet. As a noble, you should leave such devices in my control. You would only damage them with your limited intelligence. She looked at the map. But to answer your question, this map is not familiar to me. Or me, Naruto added. I would be surprised if you even recognized a map of your home village. The common class were not meant to read, merely to farm and live their lives. I don't have a clue how to farm. Then you truly are a failure. Kaguya remarked. Well then, Kuroko took the tablet back. I guess I'll put you down as Tokyo. Tokyo? That's where we are now. Never heard of it. Never. Ms. Smith blinked. Are you from some sort of lost tribe that never made contact with humanity or something? Or something, Kaguya and Naruto replied in sync. I see, she chuckled. Well, I have registered you on the system. The test results have come back. Apparently you are human. She glanced at Naruto, and you. She looked at Kaguya. Well, we've never seen anything like you. That doesn't surprise me, Kaguya smirked. Now, you see the little trouble you caused this morning means you probably won't be welcome in town for a while, but I'll tell you something. I know a place you can lay low. It's an exclusive property and you are free to remodel it however you like. There will be very few people nearby, so you don't have to worry about noise. In fact, this is a prime real estate opportunity I am only offering you because after talking to you, I think you are the kind of person I could entrust this place to. Well, that's kind and everything, but I'm planning to go back home, Naruto smiled. Do you know how to get back home? Not really, Naruto admitted and glanced at Kaguya, who raised an eyebrow at his questioning look. What, I have no chakra, remember? Even if I did, I can't guarantee that I could find my way home. Even if I could, what makes you think that I would take you with me? Kaguya scoffed. My winning personality? Was that a joke? I do not understand your lower class humor. Kaguya frowned. That wasn't supposed to be a joke. Naruto slumped over in his chair. Moving on, Ms. Smith tried to get the conversation back on track. Why not take me up on my offer? All I ask is that you help me out with my tasks. Tasks? Naruto narrowed his eyes, aware of the sort of tasks that would be asked of missing Nin in his home. As I'm sure you have noticed, Ms. Smith smiled softly. There are many girls like Kaguya here. Trust me, there is no one like me here. These girls, Ms. Smith continued, ignoring Kaguya's comment, all have special needs that mean they cannot be cared for by a normal human. Why would they need caring for at all? You really are from some back of the woods kind of place, aren't you? Ms. Smith chuckled. Okay, have you heard of the Cultural Exchange Between Species Bill? Or the Interspecies Exchange Bill as it is also known. The what? Naruto's blank face was mirrored by Kaguya. Quote. To summarize, a few years ago, demi-humans or liminals if you prefer, and humanity signed an agreement to live alongside each other. Ms. Smith smiled. The Interspecies Exchange Bill is basically an agreement to help humans and other races grow used to each other. In essence, a handler is assigned a liminal and is responsible for their behavior, to help them get used to everyday life. Okay, so basically all I'm asking is if you help someone adjust to a human presence. Ms. Smith smiled. But I'm not that well informed on this place, Naruto pointed out. True, but you are human, Ms. Smith pointed out. That is all that the bill requires of a handler. Okay, Naruto accepted this. I am a coordinator, so I will be there to support you and any liminal guests you receive. Ms. Smith, don't you think that's a good deal? You get a free house and will receive an allowance to help you live, and I don't tell the police where the two individuals who caused a massive pile-up in the middle of a busy intersection are. So blackmail then? Kaguya frowned. Blackmail is such an ugly term. Ms. Smith smiled over her glasses. I am just giving you a chance to help people in need. Why me? Don't you have other handlers? These girls are special amongst the liminals. They are too dangerous in the eyes of the ambassadors, but after interviewing them, I can tell they are good people who dream of being more integrated into society. That's why I need a special human. You are the last chance for these girls. You aren't going to let them down, are you? You have a dream, right? How would you feel if someone selfishly denied you the chance to achieve your dream? My dream? How would I feel if I was denied the chance to become Hokage? Hell, if I can't get back, I won't be able to do it at all, will I? He felt hollow just thinking about it. No, I will become Hokage. I'll find a way back. But while I'm here, I might as well help people out, right? Wow, what? This woman is dangerous. Within a matter of minutes, she has already got your weakness identified. I foresee more of this in the future. Kurama chuckled. Well, it should be interesting if nothing else. I guess I can help you out, Naruto remarked. But only until I find my way back home. Fool, Kaguya shook her head. Being so easily manipulated. Being a bleeding heart will only get you killed. No wonder you opposed my peace. You are far too small-minded to understand the bigger picture beyond what's right in front of you. Excellent. Ms. Smith clapped her hands happily. I'll have your transport arranged, and since I'm guessing you don't have a cell phone, I'll throw one of those in free of charge. Thanks. Now shoo. Ms. Smith sipped her coffee. I have people to call. Sometime later. She did say an exclusive property, right? Naruto blinked as he stood before his new house. Shortly after their meeting, Naruto and Kaguya had been put into a car and driven for what seemed like an eternity to the blonde ninja. Finally, the car pulled to a halt near a giant lake and the two-dimensionally displaced travelers got out of the car, which drove away before they could ask any questions. I am not sleeping in that. Kaguya scowled. As a noble I will settle for only the finest of residences. Naruto looked at the ruined farmhouse with a sigh. It was in need of some severe restoration work, though it was practically a mansion in size, if not in appearance. A farm. A rundown farm, Kaguya corrected as she looked at the weed-infested fields and various barns in disrepair. One not managed in some time, I would imagine. You know about farming? No, Kaguya looked insulted. That is the work of the common people. I have visited many a farm in my duties as a princess. She smiled. My people would always look so happy to see me. Huh, Naruto smiled softly at the fond look on Kaguya's face. Can I ask you something? If you must. Why did you agree to come with me? Pardon? Kaguya raised an eyebrow. Well, Miss Smith gave you the choice of entering the program or simply going with me. As much as it pains me to admit, without my powers I am less useful than I would like to be. Kaguya frowned. Despite this you chose not to finish your job. When you speak it is not of war and hatred but peace, even if it is a misguided one. There may yet be hope for you. Thanks, Naruto chuckled. Indeed, Kaguya noted, you should be grateful that I, Kaguya, have decided to grace you with my presence. I am sure as your tenure as my servant you will develop some class and might even be able to pass for a very minor noble when I am finished with you. Servant? Naruto frowned. But of course, Kaguya smirked. After all you are responsible for my current state, are you not? Well, and I am helpless, as you are so keen to point out. That is true, but, so it seems to me the only decent thing for you to do is assist me in my daily routine. I suppose the little things might. So go on, servant, Kaguya declared. Build me a house worthy of my presence. For someone who has lost all of their power, you are sure bossy. Naruto frowned as he summoned a small army of clones. Fortunately I had plenty of experience repairing buildings on my training trip with Ero Sennin. He smirked before frowning softly. To think all I did was yell at him for wasting my time and not training me. What'd I do for just one more day? He closed his eyes. What do you think you are doing? Kaguya barked. You wasteful servant. Naruto frowned. You asked me to fix the building? I didn't tell you to waste my chakra. Your chakra? I am the mother of all chakra. Kaguya put her arm on her hip. Is that so? Naruto grinned as summoned his golden cloak, creating several crude hands that started to make obscene gestures at her. Stop that. Kaguya ordered as Naruto cackled before setting to work repairing the house. Idiotic servant. She grumbled as she sat down on the grass, watching Naruto and his clones swarm the building with a single-minded purpose that was almost impressive and would have earned him an iota of respect from Kaguya. At least it would have if not for the fact that half of the house suddenly caved in no less than 10 minutes into his work, killing off a fair few clones, which Naruto replaced. Wasting my chakra, Kaguya mumbled under her breath. Still she couldn't say that he wasn't working hard. A small group of clones broke free and started to cut down a few trees from the nearby forest, making sure to plant seeds in place of the cut-down tree before setting to work cutting it into timber by using wind chakra. Another waste of her chakra. Servant. Kaguya clicked her fingers and the original Naruto appeared in a flash of yellow. What? Naruto crossed his arms, his forehead sweaty. I require entertainment. That's your problem. Naruto turned to go back to the house. What a worthless servant you are, Kaguya sighed. Tell me, why did you not tell Lady Sunglasses that you had no interest in looking after me? Why? Naruto chuckled. Well, you're probably my only way back. I see, Kaguya nodded. As painful as it is to admit, we both require each other. For the time being, Naruto nodded. Very well then. Kaguya nodded. I declare a truce, my lucky servant. My name's Naruto. And a stupid name it is, Kaguya remarked. I shall address you as servant. It is far more dignified than some sort of ramen ingredient. Then I guess I'll call you Kaguya. You shall address me as Lady Kaguya, the rabbit goddess and princess of the... I believe they are now called the elemental nations? How about just Princess Kaguya or Rabbit Goddess? The Rabbit Goddess accepts this. Kaguya nodded. Here, Naruto reached out to her. What are you doing? The help should never touch their masters, you worthless servant. A peace offering. The old sage told me how to use my chakra to heal, not like medical chakra but something older and more potent. It's how I saved Mega Bushy Brows, so I figured it might heal your arm, you know. If this is a trap. Kaguya reached out and accepted his hand, gasping as she felt warmth surge through her body. Naruto frowned as he watched Kaguya's horn regenerate, yet there were no signs of the spare limb regenerating. He tried to force more of his chakra into her, hoping the regenerative properties would take effect shortly. Gah, I feel so warm. Kaguya felt the heat wash over her. It feels like it is invading me very core. I feel so strange. Wait a minute. Kaguya reacted angrily to the new sensations. Is he trying to arouse me? Learn your place, you perverted servant. She roared before head-butting Naruto in the face. What the hell? Naruto staggered backwards. I was trying to heal you. Sure as hell didn't feel like it. Kaguya took a deep breath to calm herself down. I see you were able to repair my horn. I think all I need is more to channel more chakra to you, and I can get your arm too. No. Kaguya shook her head furiously. Never again. But your arm. I would rather I go through life with one arm rather than have you violate my sacred body. Violate your? What are you talking about? When you were forcing your chakra on me. Kaguya blushed slightly. A noble lady should not speak of such things. I don't get it? Naruto frowned as Kaguya refused to say any more. Well, I guess you got your horns repaired if nothing else. Do not expect thanks. Kaguya remarked. Such a duty is expected of my servant, and you were far too wasteful with the chakra you were using. Still, she glanced at Naruto. All in all, I suppose you performed adequately. Thanks, Naruto smiled. For a servant with absolutely no redeeming qualities or skills anyway. Thanks, Naruto repeated in a deadpan. You are welcome, servant. Kaguya gestured with her hand. Now return to your duties. Yeah, Naruto grumbled. For what it's worth, all the stonework seems in pretty good shape. There's also a lot of electronics in there that seem alright, but I wouldn't use them until someone else has had a look at them. There are bits that I haven't seen before and I have no idea what they do. He frowned. All the wooden parts are rotten, so I'm just replacing them. And my room? I can't say it is fit for a princess, but I'll try my best to make it livable. I suppose that is all I can expect from you. Yeah, Naruto sighed as he returned to his work. Kaguya frowned as she watched Naruto get back to work. She didn't understand him one bit. Back before she was a goddess, everyone was polite to her and bowed their heads in her presence. After she became a goddess, everyone worshipped her as the herald of peace. She was a peaceful goddess, protecting her people from the horrors of war. At least that was how it started out, but she soon realized that humans would always fight amongst each other. They were like children and she had to be stern to keep them safe, but this overbearing attitude of hers only bred resentment and fear. Her own sons used the chakra she had given them against her, and when she had tried to reclaim her chakra so that they couldn't hurt anyone, they had sealed her away. Her children betrayed her, and for what? Thousands of years of war and suffering. Millions dying in pointless little wars that would never have even happened if not for those foolish children of hers. She was shaken out of her brooding by something soft nuzzling against her leg. She looked to see a small white bunny rabbit. Shoo! Kaguya gestured with her hand and the bunny hopped away, only to return with two more bunnies, who all started to rub against the seated goddess and settle down. I said shoo, she repeated, and once again the bunnies fled. This world is full of strange creatures, she mumbled before returning her attention to Naruto, who was apparently arguing with his clones. And there is the strangest of them all, she remarked before she got the feeling she was being watched. Turning around, she saw 12 bunnies sat a respectful distance behind her, all lined up. Do as you will, she sighed, and the bunnies started to play around her, with a couple falling to sleep, leaning against her. How strange, she smiled slightly as she stroked the soft fur of the rabbits. Rabbit goddess indeed, Naruto chuckled as he approached, the rabbits quickly scattering as he got near. Unlike someone I could mention, they respect royalty. She stood up. The house is finished, mostly. Naruto escorted Kaguya to the large house. What was once a rusted old farmhouse was now looking like a nice country retreat. Not quite up to Kaguya's high standards as a former goddess, princess, but it would do for now. She made a mental note to get Naruto to learn how to build better buildings. If she was going to be stranded in this dimension, she might as well get comfortable here. I must admit, this is actually respectable work. I was right to make you my servant. Kaguya declared as they entered the house. As you can see, it is a little barebones right now. The lights don't all work, but I'm not an electrician, so I'm not touching them. Naruto remarked. Lights? Yeah. Naruto walked over to a switch and flicked it, turning the light on. Stop wasting chakra, you insufferable servant. It isn't chakra, it's electricity, Naruto pointed out. Didn't you have electricity way back when before you were sealed the first time? It is not my duty to understand how things work, that is your duty. Kaguya tried to cover for herself. Right, Naruto smirked. Anyway, we have a bathroom. Naruto walked over to a room, complete with a shower and a large bathtub. This is a bath? Yes. But, it is so small? Small? Naruto glanced at the room. This is bigger than my old apartment. But where are the fountains? My old bath was practically a swimming pool with fountains and a hot waterfall. It was so cozy and warm. Well, we don't have an indoor bath like that. He gestured to the bathtub. Heck, I don't even know if we have hot water. The boiler wouldn't turn on, so I guess I need to get in touch with Miss Smith somehow, but I couldn't find any messenger pigeons to get in contact with her. Naruto paused, seeing Kaguya's blank expression. The boiler is what you use to heat water using electricity. I believe my bath was powered by a fire underneath a giant metal container with water in it, Kaguya remarked. I could use chakra to heat up a bath should you want one. Naruto offered. It would be quicker than lighting a fire. I see, Kaguya frowned. I shall consider it. And here is your room. Naruto opened it to reveal several clones still tidying it up. Not much, but I guess you will find a way to decorate it. You've got the biggest bed in the place and the softest mattress. This shall do for the time being. Kaguya sat down on her bed. You are dismissed. Be gone, servant. I am tired. Oh, right. Naruto jerked his head and the clones filed out. Ungrateful bunny hag. One of them muttered, but Kaguya pretended not to hear it. Then, I guess I'll see you in the morning. I shall expect my breakfast fully prepared. Kaguya stated. How will I do that? I don't know what you like and we have next to no food here. That is a servant's concern. Naruto opened his mouth to argue before just sighing and leaving. Once she was sure that Naruto had gone, she covered herself in the blankets and curled up, her lone arm wrapped around her knees. Less than a day ago, she was an all-powerful goddess. Now she was weak, alone and in an unfamiliar environment. She had no allies, only an enemy that didn't want to kill her, and soon she would be surrounded by monsters from what the sunglasses-wearing woman had said. As she hugged her knees tighter, Kaguya realized for the first time as long as she could remember, she was afraid. She paused as she felt something nudging her hand and glanced to see a pure white bunny looking up at her. Hey, she laughed weakly. What a strange place this is. She laid in the bed, which was admittedly comfortable, and tried to fall to sleep, the small rabbit snuggling against her and falling to sleep quickly, but for Kaguya, sleep did not come easily. Middle of the night, Kaguya's eyes suddenly shot open. She remembered fighting. That's right, she was about to complete her plan and finally save her world when she was thwarted. She sat up, dislodging several bunnies that had crept into her room, who then proceeded to gather around her, as if waiting for her to do something. I shall have to inform that useless servant of mine that he did a poor job of securing my room. Kaguya rubbed the sleep from her eyes before leaving the bed and opening her curtains. The moon was shining in through the window, the pale light reflecting off of her equally pale skin, giving her a look of almost ethereal beauty. Unfortunately for Kaguya's bruised ego, no one was here to witness her hauntingly beautiful appearance except the bunnies, and they seemed to have little to no awareness of her mood, nor the ability to compliment her even if they could. In fact, all they had done was climb into the slightly crevice where she had been sleeping and fall to sleep themselves. Kaguya briefly contemplated kicking them out of her bed, but decided there was no real point. Just because she was having difficulty sleeping, didn't mean that she had to cause misery to the bunny rabbits. She briefly thought about waking up her servant, but decided that he had earned his sleep. As she was staring out of her window, she noticed some movement in one of the barns. She subconsciously went to use her Byakugan before realizing that without her chakra there was little she could actually do. Once again she felt powerless. She had no idea what was going on in that barn. What if it was one of the local monster girls that Sunglasses had been talking about? Here she was with one arm and no powers. Still, they were in a barn that was some distance away. It could wait until the morning, Kaguya decided before climbing back into her bed. The very instant she shut her eyes, she heard a creaking noise downstairs, and that sent a shiver through her entire body. Even the rabbits seemed to be huddling together in fright. She lay perfectly still as the sound of footsteps grew louder, as if someone was walking towards her room. She held her breath as the footsteps stopped outside her room, before resuming their journey back downstairs. What was once fear gave way to anger. She was a former goddess, and here she was cowering like some sort of bunny rabbit. She thought, venomously glaring at the fluffy balls that were trying to hide themselves inside her kimono. Her anger gave her strength, and she crept over to the door, slowly pushing it open. Credit where it is due, this door opened rather quietly. Kaguya thought to herself, maybe the servant isn't completely talentless. She softly walked amongst the fresh wooden floors, delicately stepping towards the kitchen area where she saw a shadowy figure rooting through the drawers. Grabbing a wooden rolling pin from the side, she crept towards the mysterious figure and swung with all her strength. The figure span around and grabbed her arm with little effort. Oh no! Kaguya realized she was in trouble until she felt a ruffling in her kimono's sleeve and a small bunny dived at the assailant, taking him by surprise and biting him on the nose. Son of a bitch! A familiar voice cried out. Servant? Kaguya felt an overwhelming sense of relief, followed by a warm sensation as the bunny leapt back into her sleeve. Still holding a grudge, Naruto mumbled as he rubbed his nose. What are you doing up at this time? Kaguya rallied. I thought you were a burglar. Burglar? Here to steal what exactly? Naruto summoned his golden cloak, illuminating the entire room. Well, Kaguya faltered. That's not the issue. Stop wasting my chakra. You said there were electric lights here, correct? The bulbs don't work and I couldn't find any spare. Naruto admitted sheepishly. As for why I am up right now, I was seeing what I could make for breakfast. I couldn't sleep. He massaged his neck. The sofa isn't very comfortable. Sofa? Well, you've got the only bed and I haven't even started on fixing my room. What? Kaguya blinked. Well, you wanted to go to sleep, so I figured I'd work on my room tomorrow. Naruto replied. Oh, Kaguya felt the tiniest smidgen of respect for Naruto. Putting your master first. Maybe you do have some talent as a servant after all. Thanks. Naruto wasn't sure how to take it, but given Kaguya's abrasive attitude thus far, he chose to take it as a compliment. So what will be for breakfast? Kaguya sat down at a counter before she noticed Naruto's questioning look. I can't sleep. You couldn't sleep either? Naruto chuckled. This place will take some getting used to, that's for sure. It's a lot bigger than my old place. Doesn't feel like a home either. But then again, it's only until we find a way back. When I was royalty, I always had someone to look after me, to ensure my bed was perfect and that nothing would interrupt my sleep. When I became a goddess, I didn't need to sleep. Now I find myself needing it again, but I do not feel safe here. I'm sure you will eventually. Naruto smiled. It's just a matter of getting used to it. As you say. Kaguya sighed deeply. So, she steered the conversation back to the original topic. What is there to eat? Well, Naruto put a small bag on the counter. Fortunately, Ms. Smith left us some things. He pulled out an old flip phone. Not sure what this is, he remarked as he put it on the desk. Instant ramen. Naruto's face lit up as he pulled out several containers. Well, that's me sorted. What else do we have? He pulled out a bag and let out a snort of laughter. What is it? Kaguya narrowed her eyes. For you, Naruto grinned as he handed her several carrots. I feel sunglasses and I are going to have some words, Kaguya remarked before taking one of the carrots and taking an angry bite of it. What? You are actually going to eat that? Better this than whatever that instant ramen stuff is. Kaguya narrowed her eyes. It doesn't look appetizing. That's just the container, Naruto smirked. The ramen is inside. I knew that. Kaguya lied. Naruto chuckled. What were you doing in the nearest barn then? What? I saw something in there. Kaguya took another angry bite of the carrot. I haven't left this house. Naruto remarked. Oh, Kaguya felt nervous. Don't you think you should investigate? Me? Well, what am I going to do? Kaguya remarked. If I had my powers I would deal with it myself, but someone just happened to have sealed those away. Oh right, sorry. Naruto paused. Well, not sorry for sealing your powers. You deserved that. He started to leave before he got an idea and grinned evilly. So I'll leave you here then. All alone. Powerless. I mean, I'm sure whatever was in the barn is still in there. Unless I attracted them to this building with my chakra, but I'm sure that didn't happen. He dispelled his cloak and walked out of the kitchen. Kaguya sat there, angrily staring at the remaining half of a carrot, a bunny perched on her arm and looking at her, twitching its nose. I know he just said that to scare me into going with him. Kaguya told the bunny. It isn't going to work. I am perfectly safe here, right? The bunny jumped from her hand. I mean, why would anyone want to break in here? It isn't as if anyone who might have a grudge against me is in this dimension as well, right? I mean, Indra's inheritor isn't here, right? He was kicked away from the portal by the servant, right? There was a loud creak and the rabbit goddess raced out of the house towards Naruto, leaving behind the carrot and the rabbit, who simply hopped over to the vegetable and started to nibble happily. Outside, Naruto frowned as he looked at the barn. He had seen movement, but with the only source of light currently hidden behind some clouds, he wasn't able to see what was in there. As he got closer, he could hear a strange noise, several light thuds, as if something with more than 4 legs was running and jumping around. He might even say something was scurrying around. What is it? Kaguya asked directly in Naruto's ear, nearly giving him a heart attack. Don't know, Naruto swallowed. But be quiet please, I want to catch them unawares. Kaguya scowled at him for basically telling her to shut up, but otherwise followed his request. The two creeped up to the barn's entrance before noting the scurrying had stopped. Naruto squinted into the darkness. Anything? Quote exclamation mark quote. Naruto furiously mimed being quiet before creeping inside the hut and activating his golden aura, to reveal an empty barn. There's nothing here, Kaguya remarked. Well, maybe somebody scared it off by talking. Naruto replied irritably as he looked up at the ceiling for any exits it might have used, although the roof was more hole than ceiling, which provided plenty of possible escape routes. Well, maybe it was someone lighting up like a flare that scared them off. Kaguya retorted angrily, using my chakra as some sort of cheap light source. Well, maybe it is right behind you. Naruto finished quietly as he spun around to yell at Kaguya. Is it? Yes? As if on the world's slowest turntable, Kaguya turned around. Illuminated by Naruto's golden glow, a woman stood behind her. She had shoulder-length blonde hair and a rather impressive bust. She was wearing a plain white shirt that covered her arms and a black dress that started just below her waist that covered far more legs than what Kaguya was expecting to see. Below her waist she was a spider with long, thin, brown limbs with darker brown stripes. Her hands were of a similar color and the fingers looked vaguely claw-like. 6 red glittering eyes seemed to focus on her. The three stood in silence for some time, Naruto's shock rapidly fading whilst Kaguya remained still, hoping the strange woman was not aggressive. So, Naruto rubbed the back of his head. Are you, can you speak? Yes. The new arrival bowed her head slightly. Despite her appearance, her voice sounded just like a normal woman and Naruto felt himself calm down at the ability to converse with her. Why didn't you? Naruto asked. Species Cultural Exchange Bill, Article 31A, Subsection 4. All diplomatic representatives are to follow the orders of their handlers and any relevant government officials unless said order contradicts a principal law. She quoted, I was requested by Agent Smith to stay put until my representative was sent to meet me at this location. Agent, wait, sunglasses sent you here? Kaguya found her voice. Sunglasses? The spider girl frowned. Article 21D, Subsection 1. All human agents and handlers should be treated with the respect that any diplomatic representative deserves. I care little for your treaties, Kaguya scowled. I am of noble blood. Don't mind her, she's just grumpy because she didn't get much sleep. Naruto laughed weakly and stepped between the two girls. So, did Miss Smith tell you who your representative is? Indeed, the spider produced some paperwork and handed it to Naruto, who decided it best not to question where she produced it from. Let me see here. Naruto scowled. It seems to be written in a language I understand, at least in parts. I have no idea what I am looking at. Wait, that's my name. Oh, this is me. Naruto repeated aloud. I am Naruto Uzumaki. Pleased to meet you. I thank you for giving me this chance. The spider girl shook his hand. Her hands felt weird to Naruto, but not in a bad way, just in a different way. Chance? Naruto blinked. Indeed, I was initially rejected for the species exchange program. Agent Smith worked very hard to change that. Why were you rejected initially? If it's not a personal question. Article 21E, Subsection 3 A diplomatic representative is required to answer all questions asked by a handler or agent unless answering could infringe on any of the principal laws as detailed in Article 1. If you wish for me to answer, I am obligated to do so. If you don't want to, you don't have to, Naruto chuckled. It is nothing personal, the Spider-Woman shook her head. It was decided that my hunting instincts would make living in a city environment difficult. Hunting instincts? Kaguya frowned. Indeed, I am a long-legged type arachne and we are carnivorous with a very strong innate hunting instinct. It is believed that in a city environment my instincts may lead to me hunting humans. Which would be in violation of Article 1A Principal Law 3. A diplomatic representative should pose no danger to the public before being allowed on the program. You sure know a lot of laws, Naruto laughed weakly. I need to. Oh, where are my manners? Naruto blinked. I just realized I never asked your name. The Spider-Woman took a deep sigh. Chi-Chi. My name is Chi-Chi. What a vulgar name, Kaguya remarked bluntly. Naruto blinked clueless. Isn't that a way of saying dad or something? It can also mean breasts, Chi-Chi admitted. I assure you I have heard every joke imaginable about it. Oh, fair enough, Naruto shrugged. Nice to meet you, Chi-Chi. I'm Naruto. Such a vulgar woman, speaking freely of such topics, Kaguya snorted. Be grateful that I, Kaguya Otsutsuki, Empress of the Moon and the Rabbit Goddess, tolerate your presence. Pardon? Chi-Chi blinked. You'll get used to her. Naruto laughed weakly. So, he looked at Kaguya then back to Chi-Chi. What, exactly do I have to do? Pardon? What is my job as your handler? Chi-Chi blinked. Do you not know? Not really, Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. But that is in contrast with Article 1A Subsection 2. All handlers must be declared competent before being assigned to the program. Chi-Chi frowned. Hey, I'm plenty competent. Naruto countered. I was given this job for a reason. Even so, Chi-Chi seemed unimpressed. I have been waiting here for several hours. I believe that you may not be qualified for this role. I apologize if this offends you, which would be in violation of Article. Yeah, I get it. Naruto cut her off. You like your rules. Tell you what, why don't you come inside and sleep it over? I'll figure out a way to get a hold of Ms. Smith in the morning. Very well. Chi-Chi bowed her head. As you are currently my handler, it is my obligation to comply with any requests you make, within reason. Where will she sleep? Kaguya frowned. Oh, I had a few clones hanging back at the house who were creating a few spare bedrooms anyway. Naruto grinned at her. What are you smirking at? Nothing, Naruto chuckled. One of my clones just dispelled. Apparently you were talking to a bunny, but when he stepped into the room the floorboard creaked and you were out of there. It was almost as if you knew the Hiraishin technique. I know not of what you speak, Kaguya narrowed her eyes. But I'm sure this technique is as unimpressive as anything else you have done, such as those crude chakra hands you make. Crude? Naruto crossed his arms as they walked back to the house, Chi-Chi following up the rear. They have opposable thumbs and everything. My chakra limb was completely indistinguishable from a real limb. Kaguya smirked patronizingly. But I'm sure for one of your breeding, that was a good attempt. She patted him on the head. Naruto glared at her back. It appears that your other charge doesn't respect you, Chi-Chi noted. About half a day ago we were trying to kill each other. Naruto shrugged. I don't know where to start with how many rules that breaks. Oh, don't worry. I'm 25% sure she's forgiven me. I mean, I only cost her arm, her powers, and possibly stranded her in a foreign world. Naruto smiled at Chi-Chi, who wasn't entirely what to say back. Why do you put up with her? Chi-Chi asked. I mean, Article 21A says. Let me tell you about some rules I live by. Naruto stopped to look at her. I call them my nindo or my ninja way. I will never give up. So long as I can breathe I can fight. So long as one person needs me. I will never give up on them. Even if they have gone a little of the rails, he mumbled the last bit, thinking of Sasuke. So even though she doesn't respect you, you won't give up on her? Oh, Kaguya? Naruto laughed weakly. Well, I guess I kind of feel somewhat responsible for her current predicament. Plus, I don't think she is genuinely a bad person. She's just had a bad day. Chi-Chi wasn't so sure but chose not to comment. In the morning she would see Agent Smith and would voice her concerns. She was sure that Agent Smith would be understanding. The next morning, rejected, Ms. Smith smiled as she nursed a freshly brewed coffee. She had shown up early with some supplies for the farmhouse as well as some experts to repair the bits that Naruto didn't know how to. He had saved her an impressive amount of labor, which was always a good thing as she was expecting the house to be in a pretty bad state when she arrived. She was currently enjoying a full breakfast as prepared by Naruto whilst sipping a coffee, also freshly brewed by Naruto. Chi-Chi stood before her looking like a deer caught in the headlights. But Chi-Chi took a deep breath. The Interspecies Exchange Bill, Article 1A subsection 2 clearly states all handlers must be declared competent before being assigned to the program. Aren't you forgetting a little bit at the end? Smith smiled. Well, Chi-Chi frowned. It says competency is decided by the local cultural exchange coordinator. And who am I? Ms. Smith finished her coffee. Refill please. Seriously? When did I become everyone's servant? Naruto grumbled as he took her cup and refilled it. Yesterday when you decided to prevent the world achieving peace and dragged me kicking and screaming into this world. Kaguya paused in her meal to toss a carrot slice from her salad to a sad-looking bunny. The local cultural exchange coordinator. Chi-Chi frowned. Listen. Smith paused to take her cup back from Naruto. I know he might not look like much, sound like much or even smell like much. I am spitting in your next coffee. Naruto warned. Do not disgrace my name by being such an inferior servant. Kaguya warned. But, Smith continued, he has potential. That's why I decided to send you to him. It's just a shame there aren't more like him. There are so many girls who need a handler like Naruto-kun here. Flattery won't get you anywhere, Naruto grumbled. So why are you here? Oh, just seeing how things are going. And eating the food you had brought for us. Naruto deadpanned. Well, if someone offers me food it would be rude not to accept. Ms. Smith laughed. On that note, she waved the empty cup at him. Seriously. Naruto summoned a cage bunshin. Stop wasting my chakra. Huh? Ms. Smith blinked as she saw the cage bunshin take her cup and fill it up. Say, those are solid clones, right? Yeah, Naruto nodded. How many? How many can you make? Thousands? Naruto shrugged. Hee. Ms. Smith started chuckling darkly. I have a feeling that you shouldn't have told her that. Kaguya sighed. I never thought I would say this but I agree with the bunny. She already knows your weaknesses and now you are telling her your strengths? I'm sure you're over-exaggerating. Naruto glanced at Ms. Smith. At least, I really hope you are. Later that day, Kuroko Smith was practically dancing as she entered her office. Even the subpar coffee she had gotten from the office couldn't ruin her mood. As she approached her desk, the usual intimidating pile of representatives in need of a new host stood waiting, but she had a secret weapon now. Flicking through the files, she selected the most dangerous and dropped them all into a box and rummaging through her desk, pulled out a black marker and scribbled, Naruto, on front of it, before putting the box to one side. Well, that was a productive day's work. She sighed happily. I think it's almost dinner time. Maybe I should check in with Naruto to see if Chi-Chi is still being troublesome. She smiled as she left her desk. And if they happen to be having their dinner and offer me a bit of the meal, well, it would be rude to turn it down, now wouldn't it? When the sun rose, it was to a peaceful scene. There was a gentle breeze that ruffled Naruto's hair as he watched the sun rising. A tired and disgruntled Chi-Chi stood beside him. As she took in Naruto's calm smile, she couldn't help but feel a little relaxed herself. Even though she was planning to explain to Ms. Smith that she couldn't possibly stay with such an inexperienced handler, she was enjoying this brief moment of quiet. You know you don't have to follow me, right? Naruto chuckled as he looked over his shoulder at her. I'm not going to run off or anything. Article 21D, subsection 2 a representative must not stray more than 100 yards, 91.4 meters, from their handler without a written letter from the coordinator expressing that the representative is adjusted enough to cope without a human handler. Chi-Chi stated. Naruto opened his mouth to argue but then decided against it. If following the rules made her happy, who was he to judge? He settled for leaning on a rotten wooden fence and surveying the fruits of his labor. The house looked okay from the outside, but only the bare minimum had been done inside. In fact, only Kaguya's room was finished, although Kaguya had made it quite clear that it wasn't up to her noble standards. Chi-Chi had been given what was supposed to be his room, which had had the walls and floors repaired, but was still lacking furniture. He had slept in the kitchen, the only other room that kept out the cold. Whilst Chi-Chi hadn't complained, He felt guilty at making her sleep in such a bare room and resolved to finish her room before starting on his own. Even if he wasn't going to be here long, hopefully, he could at least leave it so that Chi-Chi would have a nice place to live in when he returned to Konoha. Right then, Naruto suddenly declared, "Time to get to work." "Work?" Chi-Chi asked. "That's right." Naruto looked at the farm. "This place isn't going to build itself. When I'm finished with it, it'll be a fully working farm. With all sorts of, farmy things like chickens and, rice?" He finished weakly. "To get us some food and such, you know? Do you know anything about farming?" "Not a thing," Naruto proudly declared. "But I have a neat little trick to learn new stuff." "Oh? See?" Naruto smirked as he summoned a caged Bunshin. "Anything these guys learn is transferred to me when they're dispelled." "I see." Chi-Chi frowned softly. "May I ask something?" "You don't need to ask me permission to ask me a question," Naruto chuckled. "Just ask me, okay? In accordance with Article 21E, I shall acknowledge your request." Chi-Chi replied, hiding a smile at Naruto's exasperated sigh. "I was wondering, are you really human?" "Yup," Naruto nodded proudly. "But you can do such wondrous things," Chi-Chi frowned. "None of this was explained in the documents I have read about humanity." "Well," Naruto saw something over Chi-Chi's shoulder and choked back a laugh. "I guess you could say I'm special." "Good morning, Kaguya-chan. Did you have a nice sleep?" "That is Kaguya-sama to you." Kaguya scowled at Naruto, who was wearing a grin so wide it threatened to split his face in half. "Is something amusing to you, servant?" "No, nothing." Naruto turned to survey the land. "Just thinking about all the work it's going to take to get this place into shape. Such a task should be easy to someone who calls themselves my servant." "I don't call myself that." Naruto deadpanned. "He is our handler and as per Article 21D he should be treated with respect." Chi-Chi remarked before her face went strangely blank as she saw Kaguya's face. "I see you are still here." Kaguya turned to face her. "I could care less about the laws you preach, vulgar spider." "Good morning." Chi-Chi found herself staring over Kaguya's shoulder to avoid looking at her face. "See, this one gets it." Kaguya smirked. "She understands that a vulgar being such as herself does not have the divine right to gaze upon my face. Sure." Chi-Chi mumbled. "Do not laugh. Whatever I do, I cannot laugh. Remember the exchange laws." "Well, your face is a sight to behold." Naruto nodded. "What are you planning?" Kaguya stared at Naruto, distrust apparent in her eyes. "Your words seem true, but I feel there is more behind what you say." "Oh, nothing." Naruto whistled innocently. "By the way, you haven't washed your face yet, have you?" "No." Kaguya paused. "I used to have servants to do that for me, but I would rather not have your calloused hands caressing my face. My skin is soft and delicate and requires a soft touch." She glanced at Chi-Chi's hands before scowling. "It appears I shall have to bathe myself." "Well, you can wash your face in the lake." Naruto nodded to the body of water. "A servant does not tell their master what to do," Kaguya declared before heading to the body of water. "When she sees." Chi-Chi glanced at Naruto. He, Naruto grinned. "You insolent servant." Kaguya shrieked as she turned to glare at Naruto. The bunny face paint she was wearing looked ridiculous when combined with her angry glare. "I was wrong. This is funny." Kurama's bemused voice sounded from the depths of Naruto's mindscape. "Bawahahaha." Naruto fell over laughing as Kaguya stormed over to him, her eyes radiating killing intent. "I'm pretty sure almost every rule of the exchange program has just been violated." Chi-Chi hung her head. "Whilst it was kind of funny, I will have to report this to Agent Smith. She will see that staying here will only hurt my chances of being a police officer." Chi-Chi glanced at Naruto, who was still rolling around laughing as Kaguya tried to wash her face. "Where did you even get that paint?" "Oh, I found it in one of the barns," Naruto remarked as he staggered to his feet. "There was loads of junk in boxes and when my clones found the face paint we knew what we had to do." "Ouch." He frowned as he saw a little bunny bite him on the shin. "Geez, what's the big idea?" Naruto noticed a group of at least 20 rabbits staring at him. "Fine, I'll help her get it off." He was cut off by a strange ringing noise. "The phone." Chi-Chi frowned as Naruto pulled out the device. "You need to flip it open and it should auto-answer." "Oh." Naruto flipped the phone open. "Hello? Hi there." Ms. Smith sounded tired. "I forgot to go over some details, so I'll be at the property in half an hour. Tell me, have you had breakfast and your morning coffee yet?" We don't have anything here to serve, breakfast or coffee. Well fine, I'll use your allowance to buy you some food. I'll even bring over some workers to make sure your house has everything you need for your new resident. You've met Chi-Chi, correct? Yeah, Naruto glanced at Chi-Chi. For a second I was worried that you hadn't gotten my text. Miss Smith chuckled. Yeah I got that. Naruto laughed weakly. Thanks for that. Well if you really want to thank me you can make me a meal. Miss Smith hung up. I get the feeling this isn't going to be the last time she tries to mooch a meal off of you. Quit being such a cynic. She's helping us out by fixing up the bits of the house I can't and providing us with food. Besides it's not as if I'm planning to stay here is it? As soon as I find a way back home we'll be leaving. And Kaguya? To take her back would be reckless. She's powerless right now and quite a lot of people would want her dead if not captured and experimented on. Wait a minute, you're calling something reckless? You are the most reckless person I know. I'm not reckless. You dive into danger headfirst. That isn't exactly sensible. Kurama chuckled. Well, Naruto scowled as he struggled to think of a comeback. It's not recklessness if you know you can survive it. He finished weakly. That is the kind of argument only a suicidally reckless person would say. Either that or someone who was already dead. Kurama remarked dryly as Naruto made his way to the house, the rest of the journey spent in silence. It's not recklessness if you know it won't kill you. A patchwork woman proudly declared as she poked some stitches across her exposed belly. She wore the standard armor of Mon Squad, although her top was open, showing a variety of wounds that had been stitched and bandaged. Some of the bandages were tainted with a strange-looking liquid that didn't smell like blood. This was Zombina the Zombie, Mon Squad's weapons expert. There was a group sigh of exasperation in the Mon Squad barracks as two of her teammates just shook their heads. But Bina-chan, Monako, the squad's sniper Monoai frowned at her zombie teammate. You don't heal naturally. It was only a Bakken, Zombina grinned. It was thrust through you like a spear. Doppel, the squad's infiltration expert remarked as she sat, using her hair as a chair. Clearly the target was a lot stronger than we were expecting. Bullet holes are easy to seal but this wound was much more difficult. You were lucky that the wound could have been closed at all. Monako tried to explain her concern to the grinning zombie. You're right. Zombina's sharp teeth gave her an almost feral look. She was a strong opponent. You're focusing on the wrong thing, Monako mumbled under her breath. Meh, Zombina waved her concern off. Hey where's Tio? Miss Smith requested her for a mission, prisoner transport most likely. Doppel shrugged indifferently. I see, Zombina frowned. Once again I get left out of the exciting stuff? What if that criminal tries to escape, huh? Tio gets to have the best parts. I didn't even get called when there was the incident with the boss. Oh, Monako nodded softly. With the human and the strange liminal. From what I heard the liminal had weird glowing hands. That was apparently the human, Doppel remarked. How do you know? I was there, Doppel shrugged. Gah? Did everyone except me get a piece of the action? There really wasn't much action after the human pulled himself out of a truck and started to glow yellow and pick people up with the weird glowing hands he created. Doppel shifted until she was a perfect replica of Naruto, golden chakra form and all. Say what? Zombina frowned. I could never do that when I was alive. That sounds pretty awesome. Were they used for any attacks? She leaned forward to look at Doppel. Not really, Doppel returned to her usual form. He just sort of held everyone up then surrendered without a fight. Oh? Zombina seemed a little disappointed. Well I guess I didn't miss that much. Unless you're lying to me? Why would I do that? To make me feel better? Oh there was a full-on gunfight, wasn't there? Zombina groaned. I'll bet Monako was firing bullets everywhere. Tio probably threw a car at someone. I can assure you that didn't happen, Doppel shook her head. Besides I would have thought you would have had enough excitement fighting that exchange student that ran you through. But she didn't throw a car at anyone. Zombina pointed out. No one threw any cars, Doppel shook her head. I'll bet he was a deranged psycho. Zombina's mismatched eyes sparkled. It must have looked like some sort of horror movie when you saw all that death and destruction. You could always just read the report. I think he is strange. Monako frowned, but not a bad person. Oh? Zombina blinked. He could see me when I was in a sniping position. He looked at me straight in the eye and even pointed at me. No human should be able to see that well. Quote, really? Zombina didn't sound convinced. Well, there have been some interesting developments. Doppel smirked. Have you not read the report? Why would I? Zombina mumbled. It's bad enough knowing I got left out of the action without hearing all about it as well. I'll bet the car crashes were epic. Arg, and I was stuck on some stupid escort duty. It was quite a pile-up, but fortunately there were no fatalities. Minako nodded. That's probably the only reason that she was able to take the human and liminal into custody without too much fuss. Arg stopped mentioning it. Zombina groaned. But it was you who asked about it. Doppel shook her head. It's interesting what you can find out if you can get a hold of Smith-san's mission reports. How do you get a hold of them? Zombina asked. Well, Doppel changed her appearance until she looked and sounded like Miss Smith. Humans are quite easy to fool. She returned to her usual appearance. But it looks like the human isn't actually classified as one. And that means? Zombina asked. Who knows? Doppel smiled. All I know is that his race was entered as other. If he wasn't entered as a human or liminal, what does that make him? Is he a handler or an exchange student? Zombina frowned. And if he causes trouble, can I shoot him? Who knows? Doppel smirked. I'm sure that Smith-san has a plan. Back at Naruto's house, Naruto and Kaguya glanced at each other uneasily before returning their attention their house guest. Chi-Chi had quietly asked to be excused and had retreated to her still empty room, having not taken Miss Smith's judgment well. If the coordinator was aware of Chi-Chi's bad mood, she showed no signs of concern. Not bad, she nodded approvingly. Well thanks, Naruto chuckled. I'm not much a cook. The best kind of meal is a free one. Miss Smith took another sip of coffee. I have a feeling we just got a dangerous insight into your personality. Kaguya frowned. May I ask why you are here? Why? It's my job. She smiled. I had to get people here to make this place livable, although I did underestimate the damage. Fortunately, Naruto-kun here did a lot of the hard work that allowed the specialists to do their jobs easier. What exactly is your job anyway? Naruto asked as he summoned some clones to clean up the mess. I am the cultural exchange coordinator. Smith gestured at Naruto. In a nutshell, my job is to keep an eye on the handlers and any exchange students they may be housing to ensure that everything is going smoothly. But didn't you just disregard that vulgar spider's objections a few minutes ago? Kaguya frowned. Well, I could have tried to find her a new handler, Smith sighed. But it's far easier to just leave her here. Besides, she isn't in any danger here. So basically you don't want to do your job, Naruto deadpanned. She'll learn to get along with you, I'm sure. After all, isn't that part of her dream job? Dream job? Naruto blinked. Oh, she hasn't told you? Miss Smith raised an eyebrow. Well, it isn't for me to say. She stood up and brushed the crumbs from her outfit. As much as I would love to eat free food all day, I have a lot of work to do today. Doing what exactly? Kaguya asked. Well, for your information, I am not only your local coordinator but the liaison for the Mon Squad, Mon being short for Monster Ops. Neutralization, she added, seeing the blank look on Kaguya and Naruto's faces. Due to the rules of the exchange bill, humans and liminals can't harm another without breaking the law. There are those who would violate this law, and whilst the police can arrest humans, they cannot touch liminals. Hence the Monster Ops is a team of liminals who are able to do what the police can't. Oh, so you are kind of like a Chunin or maybe even a Junin? A team leader kind of thing. Yes, Smith nodded. In fact, you have already met some of my team. Oh, that armored giant. Naruto grinned, looking at Kaguya. That uncultured oaf dared to manhandle me. The rabbit goddess angrily bit into a carrot with an audible crunch. I'll bet he is some uncouth barbarian who doesn't understand the first thing about being a lady. You'd be surprised, Smith thought to herself. I'm guessing that one-eyed girl was one as well? Naruto chuckled at Kaguya's antics before returning his attention to Smith. Indeed, she was a mono-eye. Smith looked thoughtful. I suppose I should make sure you are familiar with the different species. I'll send some books later, she finished dismissively. I'm starting to think Chi-Chi should be more worried about you not being fit for your job than me as a handler. Naruto shook his head. I'll have you know I am extremely busy with many important things. Smith shook her head. Those things are probably finding other ways to avoid doing your job, Naruto grumbled. Says you, one of the cage bunshin cleaning the kitchen retorted. Those clones, they are copies of you, correct? Kaguya glanced at the muttering clone. Yeah? Then if your clones don't like you, what does that say about you? Kaguya smirked. I'm leaving before I see something that might make me have to perform a suitability test. Ms. Smith grabbed another slice of toast and took a bite. And then I would have so much more work to do if you failed it, and at this short notice too. She left, but not before draining her coffee and grabbing the last slice of toast. Apparently she too is lacking manners, Kaguya snorted. Sunglasses must be almost as common as you, servant. You're still sore about the face paint, aren't you? Naruto dodged a bunny missile. And so are your minions apparently. To touch the face of a noble. Kaguya huffed, one should know their place. You are fortunate that I don't have my powers. Such a crime would deserve the harshest punishment. While you try and think of one, I'm going to check on Chi-Chi. Naruto glanced at Kaguya, who continued eating her salad slowly. Such vulgarity. She scoffed. It's her name, Naruto called out. It's not like I'm going around calling her tits or anything. Such language. Kaguya looked away from Naruto. Do you not know how to speak in the presence of a lady? Naruto frowned. Come to think of it, Sakura-chan did always hit me. I guess I don't know. Well, Kaguya smirked. You are fortunate you have such a forgiving and generous master, who shall teach you the error of your ways. I'm going to check on Chi-Chi. Naruto left. If you really want to, anything my clones learn is transferred to me. I see. Kaguya turned to the clone. I wonder if etiquette can truly be hammered into that tiny brain of yours. I believe a short 2-hour lecture should be a good start. You traitor! The clone yelled after the fleeing Naruto. Your sacrifice will not be forgotten. Naruto bowed his head as he headed towards Chi-Chi's room. You'll want to be careful. Kaguya may be the only way home. Kurama warned Naruto. Try not to upset her too much. I know. Naruto sighed. If she never regains her chakra, I might have to rely on her to teach me how she opens portals. That means putting up with her for a bit longer. Who knows, maybe she'll lighten up. In her defense though, she was my enemy less than 24 hours ago. In her defense? She was trying to end the world near enough. How can you defend her? Oh, who am I kidding? This is you we're talking about. Everyone who you beat up seems to become a good person. Although somehow I don't see it happening anytime soon with her. She's just scared. Naruto paused outside Chi-Chi's door. Come to think of it, maybe that's the case with Chi-Chi too. She has been sent away from her family to live with a complete stranger. Hey, Kurama shook his head. I'm sure you'll make her feel right at home. You're that kind of person. Ah, thanks. Naruto chuckled before knocking on the door. Chi-Chi? Enter. Naruto pushed open the room. Wow, those people Ms. Smith got in really did a number on this place. Her room had all the furnishings that you would expect of a hotel room, including a decent-sized TV on one of the walls. He'd never seen one that was flat like that one, though. The only thing that stood out was there was a hammock instead of bed, on which Chi-Chi was currently laying. The only signs of personalization were a set of official-looking books neatly stacked on a desk and several outfits hanging in the closet, each one neatly hung and ironed. I apologize for leaving, but I was emotionally distraught by Agent Smith's decision. I thought that you would be a hindrance to my future career prospects. What do you want to do? Naruto asked as he walked over to the desk. These are all books on laws and procedures. I want to be a police officer. Chi-Chi smiled softly. Police officer? Naruto frowned slightly. Is that like the Uchiha police of this area or something? Indeed. Chi-Chi nodded. So that means you'd need to deal with all sorts of unruly sorts, right? That is. Chi-Chi's eyes widened. Oh, I get it now. Agent Smith must have put me here because an officer must be calm and collected at all times. Sometimes we have to deal with members of the public who could be infuriating and unreasonable, so in a way this too is preparing me for my job. Infuriating and unreasonable? Naruto's shoulders slumped. Ah, I apologize. Chi-Chi skillfully climbed out of the hammock. Article 21D. Subsection 1 states that human handlers must be treated with respect. I cannot apologize enough for my behavior. No, that's all right. Naruto chuckled. If you don't mind me asking, why do you want to be a police officer? Article, I don't want you to answer me because the law demands it. Naruto interrupted her. I only want you to tell me if you want to tell me. Very well. Chi-Chi bowed her head. I am from a small village not too far away. When the treaty was signed 2 years ago, not all humans took it well. Some liminals are less acceptable to humanity, whilst those who have milder traits like those of cats and dogs are more widely accepted. Those with less appealing traits are usually shunned and feared, like we are monsters. Shunned and feared. Naruto frowned softly, recalling his own past, remembering the cold looks, the hurtful words. That's never pleasant. Indeed, Chi-Chi nodded. I remember there were some humans who were aggressive to us. They formed a sort of anti-liminal group. Usually it was just threats and graffiti, but one day. She scowled. They set fire to one of my neighbors' houses at night when they were sleeping. Did they get out all right? Naruto asked, concern evident in his voice. Yes, thanks to one person, a human. She smiled softly. Whilst all the other humans were stood back watching, not sure what to do, he raced forwards without any fear and went straight into the burning building to help them escape. When he came out, I asked him, why did he not fear us? Why would he risk his life for us? His answer. Chi-Chi looked at Naruto, because I am a police officer and we help people, regardless of who they are. Human and liminal alike were calling him a hero, and that's when I realized something. If I became a police officer, I could show humans that we are not to be feared and at the same time inspire other liminals to pursue their own dreams. With my hunting instincts, I believe I would make a good police officer, and I was physically fit, so. She gestured to the books. I got in touch with the exchange program and Agent Smith provided me with the books and promised she would find me a suitable handler, even after my application was initially blocked. I see, Naruto nodded. Did they catch the people who lit the fire? No, Chi-Chi shook her head. But I think when they saw that police officer, they must have felt shame. Huh? Their actions were based on fear and ignorance. That's yet another reason why I have to be a police officer. So long as our people are considered mysterious and strange, fear will be prevalent throughout the communities that we live in. That's why I have to prove them wrong, to show them I am not some monster. I am me. Quote. Naruto stared into the distance. And one day I will be Hokage. Pardon? Chi-Chi glanced at him. He. Naruto rubbed the back of his head. You might not believe it, but we're kind of similar. We both know the stigma of being hated for something you have no control over. Alright, Naruto nodded. I've decided. Decided what? I'm going to help you. Naruto pointed at Chi-Chi. When I'm finished, you'll be the best damn police officer ever. How? Naruto deflated. Well, I haven't thought that far ahead, he admitted. I mean, I might not be the best at books and stuff, but when it comes to practical work, I'm pretty good. I've got it. I'll make training course that only I can make for you. Really? Yeah, Naruto nodded. You said your request was originally declined, right? Because of that law saying you can't be a risk to the public. Correct. Article 1A Principle Law 3. Well then, Naruto smirked. I can simulate a public environment with my clones. One will be your target and the others will just be normal civilians. But how will I know which is which? I'll have my clones change their appearances so they all look different and give you the details of the criminal. You have to find and catch him. I already told you that I am a talented hunter. Chi-Chi frowned. Well then, why don't we make it fun? Naruto smiled. Since you're so sure of yourself, why don't we make a bet of it? If you're able to complete whatever the goal of the training exercise is, then I'll assist you the only other way I can, by helping you find a handler who is able to help you. However, if you're unable to complete the goal, that means there is something I can teach you and you have to promise to stop being so uptight with the rules. Deal. Chi-Chi nodded. I look forward on seeing your letter to request my transfer. Naruto grinned. I wouldn't get your hopes up just yet. You're going to be seeing this face for a while. Possibly. Chi-Chi bowed her head. If you don't mind, I would like to stretch out before the exercise as outlined in the Police Academy training guidelines. You love your rules, Naruto chuckled as he left her to her stretches. I totally didn't see that coming. Kurama's voice was practically dripping with sarcasm. What? Another bleeding heart story. Admittedly, you could throw it, but let's be honest. The moment you realized the parallels between you, there was no way you could give up on helping her achieve her dream, is there? Am I that predictable? Hey, you might be the most unpredictable ninja, but you're the most predictable hero in history. I'll take it. Hero is a better title than demon. Naruto shook his head softly and made his way out of the house past the kitchen. Now this is a dessert spoon. Kaguya was still lecturing the clone. It looks like every other damn spoon. The clone wailed. I think I'll take a different exit. Naruto made a U-turn. Sometime later. And this is a steak knife. Kaguya placed the sharp blade on the table. And this is a carving knife. Does it really matter? The clone protested. Does it really matter? Kaguya looked incredulous. It is quite apparent if not for me you would probably descend into barbarism. You should be honored that a noble such as myself is spending her precious time instructing you on these things. One is only as noble as one acts. The clone looked for a distraction. Oh look, it's Chi-Chi. Are you here to be enlightened? Kaguya turned to face the Spider-Woman, who was wearing a jogging shirt that fell below her waist, acting as both a shirt and a skirt. What is with that strange outfit? Chance. The clone quickly grabbed the steak knife and stabbed itself, his final thoughts before bursting being a prayer that Naruto got the memory of the pain as revenge for forcing him to sit through Kaguya's lecture. I am training with Handler-san, Chi-Chi remarked simply. If I beat his challenge then he has agreed to help me find a new handler. Then you are probably going to stay here for a while, Kaguya scoffed. Considering that back when I was technically a goddess I failed to kill him, I doubt you would have much more luck. Attempting to kill our handler would be in violation of. Yes, Kaguya sighed. The rules that govern you commoners do not apply to those with noble blood. She turned to find the clone had dispelled. It appears that my servant is completely useless. He didn't even give the clone enough of my chakra to last through the lecture. Still, I suppose I should be grateful that he at least expended the chakra in a worthy cause. She turned to talk to Chi-Chi, only to find she had left as well. That is fine. I had no desire to converse with that vulgar spider anyway. She turned to the lone rabbit that was sitting on the kitchen table, nibbling the leftovers from her breakfast salad. People of my station, we are destined to stand alone, misunderstood by those we watch over. The rabbit's nose twitched, which Kaguya took as a cue to talk. Your life must be quite easy, she stroked the creature's head. Unburdened by duty and the pressures of nobility. Even before I was a goddess, there were so many who expected so much of me. I was a symbol of hope, of a potential everlasting peace. Now look at me, her shoulders slumped. I am a failure. I failed to save the world. She sat down and laid her head on the table. What a pitiful creature I have become. She glanced at the empty sleeve of her kimono, a pitiful and incomplete creature. The rabbit nudged her head. What is my purpose? She wondered aloud. When I was a goddess it was so clear. I was saving the humans from themselves. I was trying to bring about a true peace, an everlasting peace. But now I find myself helpless and no doubt my home is burning with the fires of war. Without me the world will have descended into complete anarchy. And it is all his fault. Kaguya lifted her head to glare in the direction of the fields where she assumed Naruto was. If he had just accepted my peace, if he had not tried to stop me. She clenched her one fist. I cannot forgive him for that. He doomed our world, but at the same time, I understand him a little better. It was not his intent to cause harm, but much like a child, he knows not what he does. He acts without thinking. The rabbit returned to the salad, crunching noisily on a particularly crispy piece of lettuce. I suppose as a noble it is my duty to overlook the commoners' faults and guide them to better themselves. She sighed as if realizing the depth of the task she had set herself. Still one should not complain. Despite being thrown into a new world he has proven to be surprisingly adaptive. Maybe there is hope for that one. She reached up and stroked the horn that he had regenerated for her. He means well. She smiled fondly. Yes, I do not believe he is beyond redemption. The rabbit hopped off of the table. The sad thing is, she shook her head. You probably understood that a lot better than my clueless servant. She shook his head. I shivered to think of what inane training he has cooked up. No doubt wasting more of my chakra. With Naruto. Still so sure you're going to win? Naruto glanced at Chi-Chi who was stood frozen with shock. When you said you could make thousands, I thought you were bragging. Chi-Chi glanced at Naruto. There must be at least 3,000. I don't know, never really tried to count. Naruto shrugged. Chi-Chi returned her gaze to the forest where Naruto had been waiting for her. I wanted to try and use an earth jutsu to make large building-shaped obstacles. But earth isn't really my element. He looked slightly disheartened. I mean I can kind of use it but I don't really know any actual earth jutsu. Jutsu? Techniques, like the cage bunshin. May I ask you a question? I am definitely human. May I ask a different question? Oh sure. Are you sure you are human? Yes, Naruto chuckled. So, Chi-Chi's look of shock was slowly fading. What is the task? One of the clones will be a criminal and it is your duty to find him. He, or possibly she, will be holding these bells and milling around in that forest with the other clones trying to escape. Your task is to find him and safely capture him. Once he is captured, you are to bring him back to me with the bells. Simple, right? He jingled a pair of bells. When I found these in that barn with the paint, I knew I had to use them. I feel like Kakashi-sensei right now. Sure, Chi-Chi nodded. Even with such a large number of people, I am sure that I can keep track of one clone. But be warned. If he manages to reach a secret hideout that I have built in the forest, then you lose unless you actually track him to his hideout. Then you can still win if you pursue him inside before he returns to me with the bells, Naruto smirked. But that has its own set of risks as. He was interrupted by one of his clones snatching the bells from his hand and running. Officer, I've been robbed. Try and catch me if you can. The clone, who was disguised as Yahiko, made a vulgar gesture before turning around and running, stuffing the bells into a pocket. What? Chi-Chi was caught flat-footed but quickly leapt into action, pursuing the clone with agility that impressed Naruto. Whilst a normal human would find themselves quickly in trouble, her quarry was no normal human. This was a ninja, and as agile as she was, she couldn't quite catch him before he reached the mass of clones. Excuse me, she tried to edge her way through the clones. Hey, watch it, will you? One of clones snapped. I'm standing here. I'm sorry, sir, but. Chi-Chi tried to move. Ah, Oni-sama, your legs are strange. Can I touch them? A clone disguised as a young girl walked up to her. I'm sorry, but I am in pursuit of a criminal. Her eyes desperately scanned for her prey until she caught bright orange hair. Got you. She smirked as she leapt towards him before blinking as an unfamiliar face looking back at her. No piercings? This is the wrong clone. Can I help you, officer? The clone disguised as Jugo smiled politely. No thank you, she looked around annoyed. Where has he gone? She leapt into a tree and scanned the area. Unlucky Tilda. Naruto's voice echoed through the trees and the clones all turned back into Naruto. I lost? Chi-Chi sighed as she returned to Naruto, where the Yahiko clone was twirling the bells around his finger. Well? Naruto smiled at her. Did you think it would be easy and that's why you didn't use your webs? I can't. Chi-Chi looked at him. Long leg type arachne don't spin webs. Oh, I didn't know that. Naruto chuckled. I just assumed that you could. Sorry, that was insensitive of me. It is not your fault. If anything, the fact that you were assigned as my handler without the relevant information is Agent Smith's fault. Are you criticizing a coordinator? Isn't that against the rules? Naruto gasped in fake shock. I am allowed to make criticisms where necessary, Chi-Chi mumbled, although was apparently not too proud of her remarks. Well, I guess that means you lose. Naruto rubbed the back of his head. Let's head back. There is a saying that rabbits die of loneliness, and if Kaguya dies, then I am in a whole heap of trouble. Again, Chi-Chi spoke softly. Pardon? Naruto paused. Again, Chi-Chi repeated louder, a look of determination in her eyes. Okay. Naruto nodded and glanced at the clone. We'll try something a little different this time to keep things interesting. This time the clone will be an aggressive criminal holding several clones hostage. You have to take down the criminal with non-lethal force whilst ensuring none of the other clones die. He nodded to the Yahiko clone who raced off into the forest. Right. Chi-Chi nodded, eager to complete this exercise. Huh, she seems really fired up. I wonder if that's because of the bet. Or maybe I'm an awesome teacher who inspires his students. So it's the bet then? Ignoring the smart-ass fox in his head, her turned to Chi-Chi. Are you ready? Yes. She nodded. Sir. The Yahiko clone returned and gave a sloppy salute. We have an update on the situation. The target has 6 civilians held hostage in the forest. The target has black hair and a smile that doesn't look quite right. He's located half a kilometer inside the forest and appears to be armed. Understood. He glanced at Chi-Chi. Are you ready, officer? Yes, sir. Chi-Chi saluted before heading into the forest. This was her element, stalking an unaware target in order to deliver the killing blow. She paused in that line of thought, reminding herself that she had to try and take the target alive if possible. But she couldn't fail. Her future career was counting on her being able to succeed. Back at the house, Kaguya glanced at a clock as she sat in the kitchen, her fingers tapping the surface of the table as she waited for Naruto to show up. How long can it take to train a vulgar spider to? She paused. I don't even know what they are doing, but it shouldn't take this long. She stood up angrily. Who knows what that idiot servant of mine is doing? He probably got sidetracked by a wounded animal and is now racing to deliver it to some sort of animal healer. She chuckled at the thought of Naruto carrying a bleeding fox. I wonder why I instantly thought of a fox. Her attention was drawn to the floor as a couple of rabbits started to nudge her. You are correct, Kaguya nodded. No doubt he is lost in a ditch and requires my aid. He should be grateful to have such a gracious master. She started towards the door, a small trail of rabbits behind her. This is not an unpleasant place to live, Kaguya remarked as she took in the fields. My servant has been quite busy. Maybe in a year or so it would be a place worthy of the presence of one such as myself. She nodded. Funny, as a princess I used to have 100 servants at my beck and call. All trained to the highest standards and aware of their duties. Now I have one who wouldn't know good manners if they hit him in the face. She scowled, although there was a hint of mirth in her features. She continued towards where the most noise was, assuming correctly this would be where Naruto was. What she saw almost made her pop a blood vessel. So much wasted chakra, she blinked as what must have been around 1,000 clones headed her way. Oh, it's the bunny princess, one of the clones waved at her. Hey Kaguya-chan, that's Kaguya-sama to you. Yeah, the clones waved off her remarks. What are you doing? I am going to speak to the real you. Oh, he's in the forest with Chi-Chi. One of the clones pointed off into the forest. Don't say such vulgar words in the presence of nobility. What would that be? Chi-Chi? Because if it is Chi-Chi then we can stop saying Chi-Chi. Isn't that right? One clone turned to face another clone. That's right. We'll stop saying Chi-Chi if Kaguya-chan wants us to stop saying Chi-Chi. Quote. Kaguya rubbed her forehead tiredly. What I wouldn't do for my chakra right about now. He, the clones laughed. Well, we can't all just hang around chatting. Boss says he wants us to work on some of the other rooms. He wants a training room in there. So he has decided to stop just dismissing you? Well, he said if he did you would just complain about it and we should try not to upset you too much. Huh, Kaguya preened herself. I see he's starting to respect my noble self. Not really, he just doesn't want to make you hopping mad. Quote. Kaguya glare said more than words ever could. We'll be off then. The clones coughed awkwardly, unwilling to spend any more time being glared at by the angry ex-goddess. You do that. Kaguya watched them flee before heading towards where the clones had indicated Naruto to be. With Chi-Chi. As Chi-Chi approached the area the clone had mentioned, she tried to keep a low profile. She saw someone who matched the target but they appeared to be bound up. After a few moments she realized that the clone, disguised as Sasuke, despite not looking like he knew smile properly and dressed like he was from a strip club or something, was actually a hostage. The actual target was the one wearing a smile that looked so fake it was painful to look at. Chi-Chi advanced on the position as the clone disguised as Sai walked amongst the hostages, twirling a kunai in his hand. Whilst Chi-Chi was confident she could take down the clone, doing it without killing it would be much more difficult, and that was without taking into account that she had to try and make sure the 6 civilians survived. Her mind raced as she tried to recall the rules for such a situation. TCH. The Sai clone walked over to one of the clones disguised as a child, Hanabi Hyuga to be exact, and picked it up by the scruff of her throat. I'm fed up of waiting for my ransom. Maybe sending a small piece of you back will convince them to hurry up? Pete, please no. The Hanabi clone squirmed. Not good. Chi-Chi quickly charged the target, expertly maneuvering through the undergrowth until she got within leaping distance, her agile movement meaning that the Sai clone was completely unaware of the rapidly approaching liminal until it was too late and the full mass of the liminal came down on him like an angel of vengeance. Unfortunately, this meant that the fragile clone dispelled, taking the Hanabi clone with it. For what it's worth, Naruto called from a tree. A real human isn't quite that fragile. He jumped down next to her. For example, I survived being hit by what Ms. Smith called a truck. Judging from the public reaction to that, I don't think most humans can survive that. Hell, if not for me, you might not have survived that. Details, Naruto thought back flippantly. A loss is a loss. Those are the rules of the challenge. Chi-Chi sighed. One more time. Again? Again. Hey, Naruto nodded. Let's see. What can this third test be? How about you try and catch me? You? Chi-Chi tilted her head. That's right, Naruto nodded. Unlike my clones, I won't break so easily. This way you can learn to capture a strong human before working your way towards more fragile targets. To make things fair, I'll only use my chakra to cling to surfaces. I'll head into the forest and wait for 1 hour. After which I'll make my way back here. If I get back here then I win, and if you capture me, you win. You've seen the damage I caused to the clones. It would be in direct violation to Article 1A Principle Law 5. It is a criminal offense for any humans to willingly and knowingly inflict harm upon a representative or put them in a scenario that would lead to injury without written and uncoerced confirmation from both the representative and the handler. This also applies to any harm inflicted upon the handler by a liminal. So basically we both just need to give our approval, right? Naruto tilted his head. Well yes, but you failed to realize the potential harm that you could suffer. Chi-Chi frowned. Can you summon a god that can send me through dimensions and turn me to ash if you land an attack on me? No, then I'll be fine. I survived that after all. He grinned widely. Just ask Kaguya how hard I am to kill. Where are you from? Chi-Chi struggled to wrap her head around what he said. Let's just say I'm not from around here. Naruto chuckled. So you still want to try and catch me, or are you too scared now? When I decided to become a police officer I swore I would give it my all. Chi-Chi shook her head. Giving up is not an option. He, Naruto nodded. That's the spirit. You ready? On the count of 3? Chi-Chi stretched out her many legs. 1. Naruto crouched. 2. Hey, what are you doing? Chi-Chi blinked. Being a ninja. Naruto laughed as he set off running early. You cheater. Chi-Chi took off after the grinning ninja. Oh, and criminals always play by the rules? You. Chi-Chi narrowed her eyes as the two sped into the undergrowth. So why are you doing this again? I don't know. It seemed like a good idea? Still, she seems pretty agile. Duck. What? Naruto rolled as Chi-Chi leapt over him. Damn, she can jump. Well, she isn't the only one. Remember, no chakra besides to cling to surfaces. Was that Kaguya? What? Naruto glanced over his shoulder to see the irate goddess and her small army of rabbits traversing the undergrowth. Branch. Oh right. Naruto grinned as he ducked under the obstacle. Landing flat against another tree and racing towards the canopy, Chi-Chi quickly scurrying up the neighboring tree matching pace with him. You know, I wasn't expecting you to be this fast. Once I have my prey in my sights, it won't escape. What about those clones that you failed to capture? I underestimated you. Chi-Chi kicked off the tree towards Naruto, who leapt off and grabbed a hold of another branch, watching as Chi-Chi tore through the tree where he would have been stood. Maybe I limited myself too much, Naruto frowned. Hey, Chi-Chi? He tried to spot the spider woman. I get the feeling she decided against a direct assault and is now waiting to ambush you. Ambush a ninja? Huh. Naruto smirked as he dropped to the forest floor. Good luck with that. He looked around, searching for the telltale sign of movement amongst the bushes. Huh, she's good. He closed his eyes, listening to the sounds of the forest. Wherever Chi-Chi had gone, she was being awfully quiet. At least I don't have to worry about her setting some sort of trap with webs. He opened his eyes. So, any plans? Well, technically I can just sit around waiting then head back to the original meeting point to win. I'm guessing she will be hoping to ambush me on the way back and is using this time to set up some traps for me. Naruto looked around before sitting down. And you're going to let her, aren't you? Of course. Naruto grinned as he sat down, enjoying the calm of the forest. He pulled a kunai from his pocket and checked the reflection to make sure she wasn't behind him before picking up a branch and cutting at it. Has an hour passed yet? He thought jokingly. Yes. Kurama responded sarcastically. Wait, really? No, not even close. Naruto got into a meditative pose. Might as well kill some time then. He sat down, allowing the natural energies to flow through him. I see that this world still has natural energy, even if no one else seems to have chakra. He smiled slightly as he felt the strange energy of the world, familiar yet completely foreign at the same time. He could sense so many life forms around him. This is really a busy little forest, isn't it? He murmured as he extended his senses. Time seemed to flow by quickly until his trance was broken by Kurama. Your hour's up. If you want to keep meditating, don't let me stop you, but remember there's no toad with a staff to beat you here, though. His name is, wait a minute. You're a genius. I know I am, but just in case I had forgotten, why am I a genius? The toads. Naruto stood up, dispelling the natural energy he had gathered. They can reverse summon me back home. Maybe. Kurama was skeptical. But the chakra required to summon one here must be astronomical. I doubt we could do it. Well, we can at least try. Naruto grinned. Now? I suppose it can wait until we finish this test. Naruto glanced into the forest. You think she's finished yet? I suspect yes. What do you? Naruto instinctively rolled forward and started to run as the sound of Chi-Chi tearing through the undergrowth sounded directly behind him. Being a little noisy, isn't she? He started towards the tree line, but Chi-Chi cut him off, forcing him to change directions and leap into the trees, Chi-Chi following behind him. Every time he tried to change direction, she quickly leapt in the way of his attempt to escape, forcing him to follow the route she wanted. Just what is she planning? She only had an hour to prepare. Naruto frowned as he easily kept his distance from her. She isn't even trying to chase me down now. What is she planning? He ran across the forest floor, tracking her movements out of the corner of his eyes. Just a little longer. Chi-Chi smiled as she saw Naruto heading towards her trap. No matter which direction I attack from, you can just jump out of the way. In order to capture you I have to leap when you're in mid-jump and unable to alter your course. Do you think she plans to lose? Naruto wondered. No, she has a similar look in her eyes to you. She won't give up. Hey, I knew there was something about her that was familiar. Naruto smirked as he approached some bramble bushes that marked the edge of the forest, almost home free. Here we go. Chi-Chi prepared herself. And away we, crap. Naruto cried out in alarm as he leapt over the bushes, twisting his body to narrowly miss several beehives in the tree. Phew, that was close, he chuckled before stepping forward and feeling something catch on his leg. As he tugged his leg free he saw the familiar glint of a tripwire and the beehives briefly shook, followed by the sound of angrily buzzing bees starting to leave the hives. Not today. Naruto leapt backwards from the hives and their guardians. Here's my chance. Chi-Chi dived at the airborne Naruto. Huh? Naruto's eyes widened. Clever girl, he regretted his handicap. Without his other abilities he was a sitting duck, so he did the best he could and braced for the inevitable impact. Mission achieved, Chi-Chi declared as she grabbed Naruto tightly, the speed of her impact knocking the air from his lungs as she came down to land, only to realize too late that she had been so focused on catching Naruto, she had launched herself at him more energetically than she had planned to. Rather than a soft landing on the grass, the two of them were headed straight for the lake next to the farm. She braced herself for an impact that never came. A sudden surge of warmth spread through her body and she found herself held above the water by a glowing yellow limb. Naruto himself was stood atop the water's surface. How? Chi-Chi blinked as the golden limb put her down on the shore. Chakra, Naruto replied simply as he walked over to the shore. It's kind of like a natural energy that powers me in my jutsu. Thank you, Chi-Chi nodded. Whilst I wouldn't have died, being submerged is extremely unpleasant for me. It appears that you may have some latent talent as a handler after all. Naruto rubbed the back of his head. Thanks I guess? So you're not a big fan of water, huh? It's just that my lungs are in my abdomen. Chi-Chi gestured to her spider half. In what you could call my rear. I can breathe through the surface of my skin, so when I am submerged, while it won't kill me, it feels like I'm suffocating from all sides. Wait, you breathe from your butt? Naruto blinked. I leave you alone for an hour and already you have dropped to that vulgar spider's level, a disapproving Kaguya remarked as she emerged from the forest, her kimono looking slightly worse for wear. Oh hi Kaguya-chan. Kaguya-sama, the former goddess brushed herself off and sat down. You shall address me as Kaguya-sama. Whatever you say Kaguya-sama-chan. I will not sink to your level, Kaguya scoffed. I have just one question. Oh, why? Why are you wasting my chakra? She pointed at his golden form. Oh this? Naruto laughed weakly. Well you see we were going to fall into the lake so I called on Kurama's power to stop Chi-Chi and I from getting soaked. So you wasted my chakra because you didn't want to get wet. Kaguya remarked. When you put it like that it seems less cool, Naruto grumbled. Nothing about you is cool, except your association to me. Kaguya remarked. As my servant that is. You know what, I was going to let you come back home with me, but now I think I'll just leave you here. Naruto crossed his arms. You mean to tell me you have found a way back home? Kaguya's eyes lit up slightly. I'm pretty sure I have. Naruto allowed himself a moment of smugness. I mean it would take a lot of chakra. It would finally be a use that wasn't a complete waste, Kaguya smiled. Huh? Naruto chuckled. This must be one of the first times I've actually seen you smile. You should do that more. It suits you. It is the duty of a servant to compliment their master, Kaguya remarked. Although admittedly my old servants never seemed quite as sincere with their compliments as you just did. I can't even say anything nice to her. Naruto turned to Chi-Chi, who looked bemused at their interactions. So I guess this is goodbye then. You are leaving? Well, hopefully. Just as well really, considering you successfully captured me. That means I have to write a letter for you to find a new handler. Chi-Chi frowned softly. I don't believe I won. Huh? 2 out of 3 times I was soundly beaten. I am grateful that you even allowed me more than one chance. Chi-Chi bowed her head. As per the rules that we agreed upon, I am to stay with you. But I might be heading back home. Article 2A, subsection 1. A handler is responsible for the well-being of their assigned representatives until the relevant body qualifies the representative for human integration without a handler or the handler is deemed incapable of performing their duties. Chi-Chi quoted. Until Agent Smith says otherwise, I must stay with you. What are you saying? If you are to leave this residence, then I must accompany you. Chi-Chi stated firmly. But, Naruto blinked. We could be going far away. There is no limit on the reach of the law. Kaguya, a little help? I'm sorry? Kaguya looked at him. You can't have been talking to me. Fine, Naruto sighed. Oh gracious Kaguya-sama, please help me. He rolled his eyes. No, Kaguya smiled at him. This is for the face paint, isn't it? When will you let that go? Naruto wailed. When you undo ruining the last hope of peace for our home. I just can't win with you, can I? Naruto rolled his eyes. Well, here goes nothing. He bit his thumb and slammed it down on the floor. Kachiyose no Jutsu. Was something supposed to happen? Kaguya remarked unimpressed. Kurama, give me all you've got. This isn't going to work. Kurama remarked but relinquished a great deal of chakra regardless. Now to top it all up with a little nature chakra. Naruto took a deep breath and closed his eyes. When he opened them, his eyes, already red from the effect of the cloak, had been replaced by his orange sage eyes with slits through the bars thanks to Kurama's influence. Wait a minute, do you feel that? Kurama tried to get Naruto's attention, but he was too focused on his jutsu to care about anything else right now. Here we go. Kuchiyose no Jutsu. Naruto bit his thumb again and poured as much chakra as he could into the summoning. There was a burst of smoke that filled the area, and when it cleared, Naruto let out a whoop of joy. It worked. Naruto laughed. Odd, she doesn't look like the other female toads I met. Maybe after a certain age they all just end up looking like Granny Sage. Kaguya blinked as she took in this new arrival. She had green skin with brown splotches appearing now and again on her arms and legs. She wore what looked like a conductor's hat with blonde bangs covering her forehead. The rest of her hair was tied into a high ponytail that trailed down the large coat she was wearing, its sleeves rolled up to her elbows and her collar lifted up. Beneath the coat she wore only some bindings to cover her modest chest and some dark pants tied at the waist with a rope belt. Kaguya noted that her bare feet were on display, revealing the webbing between her toes that was mirrored on her hands. This one must be even more common than my servant. Chi-Chi found herself instinctively distrusting this new arrival. She looks like some sort of delinquent. What is this ruffian doing here? Alright, Naruto grinned. I need you to go back and tell Grandpa Sage too. I ain't doing nothing. The toad girl spat. Naruto blinked. As amusing as this is, Kaguya brushed off her kimono and stood up to leave. I am returning home. I will bathe then be down to have a meal. I expect the bath to be ready and hot for me in 10 minutes. Where do you think you are going? The toad scowled. To my house. Kaguya retorted. It ain't yours anymore, she declared. You all listen good. My name is Nectafree, but you're going to be calling me Toph-sama from now on. You're my underlings and this is my territory now. That's all for now. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments.